Across the vast, undulating expanse of the Gobi Desert, the first pale violet streaks of dawn begin to dissolve the velvety shadow of night. The air is crisp, carrying the profound stillness of an early spring morning. Here, where copper-toned dunes roll toward a limitless horizon, the landscape momentarily holds its breath. A gentle breeze whispers over the soft, cool sand, weaving through delicate clusters of ephemeral green grasses that have miraculously sprouted overnight, drinking in the rare seasonal moisture of the desert floor. In this sanctuary of absolute peace, a profound transformation occurs. Outlined against the awakening light, a mother dromedary stands sentinel over a miraculous new presence in the herd. Resting upon the yielding dunes is her newborn calf, entering the world with soft, long-lashed eyes and knobby, uncoordinated limbs. As the sun edges over the rim of the earth, washing the golden sands in a warm, amber glow, the tiny creature experiences its very first moments of life. The neonate biology of the dromedary is a masterpiece of evolutionary design, uniquely tailored to handle the extreme arid environment from the very first second. The calf's lungs expand effortlessly, taking in the clean, chilled morning air as its circulatory system rapidly recalibrates from the warmth of the womb to the open expanse of the desert. Every breath is steady and deep, a quiet rhythm harmonizing with the natural cadence of the waking earth. Far off, a solitary lark greets the morning with a soft, melodic trill, while the fine grains of sand drift almost imperceptibly in the morning updraft, settling gently around them. The transition from the sheltered warmth of the womb to the cool spring atmosphere triggers a cascade of intricate physiological adjustments within the newborn's slender frame. With each rising swell of the chest, the calf's immature alveoli inflate for the very first time, coating themselves with vital surfactants that ensure optimal gas exchange. Oxygen floods the bloodstream, instantly signaling the closure of the fetal shunts within the heart, successfully rerouting circulation entirely through the newly activated pulmonary pathway. This rapid cardiovascular recalibration supports a steady, resilient heartbeat, pulsing with a quiet strength beneath a downy coat of pale fleece. Close beside her offspring, the mother leans in, her soft breath mingling with the chill of dawn. She nudges the calf gently, her warm muzzle offering an anchor of tactile reassurance as the little one processes the sensory symphony of the awakening desert. The scent of damp sand, sweet spring foliage, and maternal musk envelops the neonate, anchoring its developing neurological pathways in a feeling of absolute safety. Every rustle of the surrounding grasses brushing against delicate hooves sends new signals traveling up the spinal cord, waking a nervous system primed for survival. Yet, rather than overwhelming the senses, the morning unfolds in a tranquil, measured pace. The calf inhales the crisp air once more, its chest rising and falling in a soothing cadence, completely attuned to the slow, steady rhythm of the desert morning. A low, resonant vibration echoes deep within the mother's chest, a soothing acoustic frequency designed specifically to calm her newborn. This gentle rumbling travels through the cool desert air, meeting the delicate ossicles of the calf's inner ears and offering an auditory anchor amid the vast, quiet expanse. Reaching down with velvety lips, the mother begins the crucial ritual of cleaning. Her tongue sweeps across the damp, fleece-covered flanks, stimulating the peripheral nervous system and encouraging vital blood circulation to the surface of the skin. This rhythmic grooming does more than merely dry the soft coat. It imprints the unique maternal scent deeply into the calf's developing olfactory bulb, forging an instantaneous and unbreakable bond of recognition. Each rhythmic push of her muzzle acts as a tactile massage, waking muscles that have remained curled and dormant for months. The calf leans instinctively into the pressure, finding profound security in the steady, immovable presence of its parent. Between these gentle nudges, the mother pauses to inhale deeply, tasting the specific biochemical markers of her offspring's breath to assess its vibrant health. Satisfied by the strong, steady pulse of life beneath her touch, she exhales a warm plume of air across the neonate's pole. The ambient sound of shifting sand is momentarily masked by the rhythmic cadence of maternal breathing and the soft rustle of ephemeral grasses brushing against slender limbs. Cradled by this attentive devotion, the calf relaxes every muscle, resting completely secure in the gentle embrace of the dawn. Beneath the pale, pearlescent light of early dawn, a closer look at the newborn reveals the remarkable architecture of survival written into its very form. Designed for an ancient lineage of endurance, the calf's body is already perfectly equipped for the extremes of the arid landscape. Its slender legs are cloaked in a dense, woolly thermal coat, a plush fleece of fine underfur that acts as a natural insulator against the lingering chill of the spring morning and will later deflect the piercing glare of the midday sun. At the end of its delicate, twitching muzzle, two narrow, slit-like nostrils remain tightly sealed. These specialized muscular valves open only when the calf inhales, closing automatically to keep out the fine, abrasive grains of wind-driven sand whenever a sudden morning breeze sweeps across the dunes. Below, hidden beneath the damp sand, the calf's limbs end in wide, padded feet rather than hard, rigid hooves. These broad, flexible foot pads are filled with a thick, elastic digital cushion of resilient fat and fibrous tissue. When the young animal eventually rises, this specialized morphology will distribute its weight evenly over the shifting, unstable granules, allowing it to glide effortlessly across the golden terrain without sinking. Every contour of the neonate's anatomy whispers of quiet resilience, sculpted across millennia to harmonize seamlessly with the sweeping rhythms of the desert world. Around the resting pair, the Gobi Desert undergoes a fleeting, miraculous transformation. This is the brief, precious window of spring, when subterranean moisture from melted winter snows coaxes life from the seemingly barren earth. Across the undulating expanse of golden sand, patches of pale green grasses and delicate, short-lived ephemeral plants suddenly carpet the terrain. These resilient pioneer species race against the approaching heat, sprouting, flowering, and setting seed in a matter of weeks. Tiny, star-shaped blossoms of soft yellow and pale lavender push up through the crust of the dunes, their roots anchoring the drifting granules. As a gentle morning breeze sweeps across the valley, it carries the faint, sweet scent of damp soil and awakening vegetation, mingling with the crisp air. Softly, the rustling grasses brush against the mother's flanks, creating a soothing, susurrating chorus that whispers through the stillness of dawn. This unexpected verdure provides more than just a feast for the nursing mother, whose milk production relies on these fresh, nutrient-rich shoots. It also offers a welcoming, cushiony bed for her newborn. The tender green stems and resilient blades yield gently beneath the calf's weight, forming a natural, fragrant cradle upon the earth. Distant birdsong drifts lazily on the morning wind, celebrating the brief return of abundance to the wild expanse. Here, amidst the quiet harmony of blooming life and shifting sands, the desert feels remarkably gentle, embracing the new arrival in a tapestry of muted green and gold. As the first true rays of the morning sun crest the distant horizon, they spill a wash of soft amber light across the dunes, instantly warming the crisp air. The golden illumination touches the resting pair, waking the landscape with a slow, gradual glow. The mother dromedary settles lower onto the cool spring earth, folding her long legs gracefully beneath her massive frame. Beside her, the newborn calf relaxes completely, tucking its slender limbs close to its chest in a posture of utter trust and security. Pressed against its mother's broad, radiating flank, the calf absorbs the steady, comforting heat of her body. This close physical contact helps stabilize the neonate's internal core temperature, a vital mechanism for a newborn whose thermoregulatory system is still maturing. The gentle rise and fall of the mother's breathing creates a slow, rhythmic cadence, acting like a natural lullaby that echoes the peaceful tempo of the waking desert. All around them, the shifting sands grow still under the gentle morning breeze, and the soft rustling of the ephemeral grasses fades into a quiet hush. The distant bird song softens, melting into the vast, tranquil emptiness of the Gobi. Safe within the shelter of maternal warmth and the restorative embrace of the earth, the young camel's eyelids grow heavy. Its breathing deepens into a slow, even rhythm, perfectly synchronized with the timeless, quiet pulse of the wild world around it. Resting deeply, the calf drifts into a peaceful slumber, cradled in the golden stillness of its very first spring morning. As the late afternoon sun begins its slow descent over the undulating desert ridges, long, amber shadows stretch lazily across the warming valley sand. Resting gently in this sea of golden grains lies a newly born dromedary calf, its soft, woolly coat catching the fading warmth of the day. The desert around this quiet hollow breathes in with a low, soothing breeze, whispering softly against the dunes and carrying the tranquil promise of the approaching evening. Inside the calf's slender, gangly frame, a remarkable biological awakening is underway. The nervous system, finely tuned by generations of evolutionary adaptation, begins to fire its first instinctive electrical impulses. These hidden neural signals ripple through the young neuromuscular network, traveling down the length of the spine and into the extremities. Slowly, the stillness of the neonate gives way to motion. A long, delicate leg twitches against the cool grains of sand. Muscles that have known only the tight confines of gestation now contract and release in an uncoordinated, instinctive dance. The calf flexes its knees, testing the tension in tendons and ligaments designed to carry a massive frame across shifting terrain. Each subtle shift in weight stimulates proprioceptors nestled deep within the joints, sending continuous feedback to the developing brain. Close by, the mother stands in patient vigil, offering a low, resonant rumble from deep within her chest. This maternal vibration resonates through the earth, a steady anchor for the newborn as it experiences the very first sensations of gravity and movement. With eyes blinking against the bright, slanted light, the little dromedary begins to gather its strength, preparing its awakening limbs for the monumental journey ahead. A sudden surge of ancient instinct ripples through the newborn frame, cutting softly through the lazy afternoon air. The calf gathers its slender, disproportionately long forelegs, tucking them neatly beneath its compact chest as soft grains of sand slide away from the effort. This is the moment of transition, a delicate mechanical challenge where a massive head and a heavy torso must be lifted in perfect unison by limbs that have barely tested their own strength. The process is delightfully clumsy and heavy. The calf presses downward with its knees, but the anatomical proportions present a puzzle of leverage. The front legs are remarkably elongated compared to the depth of the body. With an initial push, the forequarters rise halfway, only to wobble and settle back down against the comforting warmth of the earth with a gentle sigh. The low desert breeze carries the sound of this soft, yielding impact across the dunes, mingling with a deeper, reassuring rumble from the patient mother standing just inches away. Undeterred by the first gentle tumble, the nervous system recalibrates its electrical pathways. Muscle fibers contract again, firing in a rapid, synchronized sequence designed to overcome the pull of gravity. The joints hinge upward once more, tendons stretching to their optimal tension. Slowly, purposefully, the front half of the slender body clears the sand. The chest hovers suspended in the warm air, supported by pillars of bone and taut muscle. For a brief, suspended heartbeat, the heavy torso balances, defying the shifting ground below, as the young dromedary feels the true weight of its world for the very first time. With the forequarters now lifted and steady, attention shifts entirely to the rear. The newborn extends its long, slender hind legs, testing the unfamiliar angles of knees and hocks. At the base of these delicate limbs rest the calf's remarkable feet, broad, circular cushions of thick, leathery tissue entirely unaccustomed to the harshness of the terrain. Unlike the hardened calluses of an adult, these neonatal pads are remarkably soft and pliable, retaining the gentle flexibility of their sheltered pre-birth environment. As the calf attempts to bring its hindquarters upward, the loose spring sand yields beneath the weight, threatening to slip away like liquid gold. Yet, this specialized foot morphology is brilliantly engineered for the dunes. Under the downward pressure of the growing body, the fatty, elastic cushion inside the pad expands horizontally. This widening action dramatically increases the surface area of the foot, transforming a potentially unstable hoof into a natural snowshoe. Instead of plunging deep into the shifting granules, the broad pads distribute the load evenly across the surface. The low desert breeze whispers across the valley, carrying the soft, rustling sound of sliding sand grains as the calf makes its adjustments. Beneath this soothing auditory backdrop, the neuromuscular system continually fine-tunes the pressure in each limb. The two-toed mechanics flex and grip, compensating for the miniature avalanches beneath the toes. Each tentative shift of weight helps the resilient pads conform to the undulating contours of the earth, bridging the gap between anatomical potential and physical reality. The mother releases another low, resonant rumble, a soothing vibration that resonates through the warm air, encouraging the young dromedary as it masters the very foundation of its desert journey. With a final, concentrated surge of effort, the young dromedary gathers its strength, engaging the extensor muscles along its spine to align its center of gravity directly above those wide, yielding pads. The neuromuscular pathways, firing in rapid succession, command the joints to lock into place. Slowly, marvelously, the knobby knees straighten, and the slender frame rises upward, overcoming the persistent pull of the earth. For the very first time, full upright posture is achieved. The calf stands resolute beneath the vast, amber-tinted canopy of the late afternoon sky, though its entire silhouette trembles slightly under the unfamiliar burden of weight. Every long limb vibrates with the immense exertion required to coordinate a frame not yet accustomed to gravity. The low desert breeze drifts past, gently rustling the fine wool of its newborn coat, while distant, muted hoof taps echo softly from another camel across the valley. The mother remains close, her steady, grounding presence offering quiet reassurance as her offspring balances precariously between earth and sky. A low, resonant hum vibrates within the maternal chest, rolling outward like a gentle wave across the warming valley sands. This soothing vocalization reaches the trembling calf, offering a familiar anchor in a world that suddenly feels entirely too large and overwhelmingly vertical. Guided by that steady, rhythmic reassurance, the young dromedary decides to move. It initiates the sequence with a hesitant shift in weight, sending a cascade of neurological signals racing down the spinal cord to the peripheral nerves of the limbs. The left foreleg sweeps outward in a wide, clumsy arc, its broad, soft footpad sliding slightly over the loose, shifting grains before finding a momentary purchase. Walking in a precocial ungulate is an act of orchestrated physics and developing muscle tone. Because camels utilize a lateral pacing gait, moving both legs on the same side of the body in unison, the mechanics demand precise timing. For now, that rhythm is wonderfully uneven. The hindquarters sway, and the long, gangly legs swing with a delightful lack of synchronization, testing the nascent pathways of the cerebellum. Each awkward stride builds vital strength across the delicate shoulders and growing hips, engraving new pathways into the nervous system with every footfall. Soft shifting sand whispers beneath the uncalloused pads as the calf negotiates a small ripple in the terrain. It lists slightly to the right, a momentary wobble corrected instantly by a nudge from the mother's warm muzzle. She steps beside it, a tower of calm, perfectly attuned to the delicate balance of her newborn. With every clumsy, forward-reaching step, the young camel draws closer to her side, wrapping itself in the protective warmth of her towering silhouette as the late afternoon light deepens into a peaceful, amber glow. Fatigued by the immense exertion of its maiden journey across the valley, the young calf begins to sway. The delicate neuromuscular pathways, firing continuously for the past hour, now signal a profound natural need for restoration. Muscles that recently learned the art of an upright stance gently relax their tension. In one smooth, fluid motion, the neonate folds its long limbs beneath its slender frame. The broad, soft foot pads settle back into the warm, yielding cushion of the desert sands, perfectly adapted to distribute the animal's weight without sinking. As the chest touches the earth, a soft sigh seems to escape the gentle landscape, matching the rhythmic cadence of the low desert breeze whispering over the undulating ridges. The mother steps closer, her towering shadow stretching gracefully across the sand. She lowers her massive head, offering tender tactile reassurance. Warm breath brushes against the calf's neck in a slow, rhythmic exchange as she traces the soft line of its spine. A maternal low rumble vibrates through the cooling air, a soothing lullaby that signals the end of the day's great endeavor. High above, the late afternoon sun surrenders its amber authority to the advancing dusk. The horizon transforms, painted in deep, hushed violet hues and soft indigos. Gentle air currents sweep across the valley, cooling the golden dunes and wrapping the resting pair in a tranquil embrace. Safe within the shadow of the maternal sanctuary, the young camel closes its heavy eyelids, surrendering completely to the quiet stillness of the descending night. The desert afternoon softens, surrendering its heavy heat as the sun begins a slow, graceful descent toward the western horizon. Across the rolling expanses of spring sand dunes, long golden shadows stretch and stretch, painting the landscape in amber and deep violet hues. A cooling breeze sweeps gently across the valley, rustling the dry, delicate leaves of sparse acacia trees that dot the arid terrain. In this quiet transition of twilight, the environment grows profoundly still. The cooling air carries the faint, soothing sound of the wind whispering through the branches and the deep, steady breathing of a mother dromedary standing motionlessly beside her newborn calf. This delicate temporal window, the golden hour, triggers vital physiological cues across the ecosystem. As ambient temperatures drop, metabolic stress eases for both parent and offspring, optimizing conditions for maternal care and neonatal development. The mother's broad, cushioned foot pads rest securely upon the cooling sand, anchoring her in a state of calm watchfulness. Every slow inhalation brings a low, resonant rumble from deep within her chest, a soothing frequency that vibrates softly through the quiet evening air. Distant night insects begin their first tentative hums, joining the gentle symphony of the dusk. This tranquil atmosphere envelops the pair in a secure, protected sanctuary, preparing the delicate neonate for the crucial milestones that await under the emerging stars. Standing sentinel against the darkening horizon, the mother dromedary shifts her massive weight with deliberate grace. Her long, elegant neck arches downward, bringing her soft muzzle close to the wobbly, long-legged neonate. With infinite tenderness, she delivers a series of gentle, rhythmic nudges, her velvety lips brushing against the calf's damp, woolly coat. This tactile communication is an evolutionary anchor, releasing calming neurochemicals in the newborn and reinforcing the vital bond of mammalian parenting. Her sturdy frame forms a natural windbreak, shielding her fragile offspring from the evening's rising chill. By positioning her body close to the cooling sand, she creates a secure microclimate of warmth and protection in the vast open desert. Every subtle shift of her anatomy, from the relaxed posture of her strong hind legs to the steady blinking of long, protective eyelashes, communicates absolute safety. The calf responds instinctively to these maternal cues, pressing its trembling shoulder against the soft contour of its mother's flank. It nuzzles upward, guided by the comforting cadence of her breathing and the low, vibrational hum rolling from her chest. In this quiet sanctuary of touch and proximity, all external anxieties fade into the gathering twilight. The mother remains entirely motionless, a towering pillar of patience, anchoring the newborn in the profound security of her immediate presence as the first pale stars blink into existence above the dunes. Bathed in the amber glow of the dying sun, the gangly neonate begins its slow, purposeful journey along the warm expanse of its mother's flank. Guided by ancient instincts etched deep within its DNA, the calf's sensitive muzzle sweeps downward, testing the cooling air for the rich, unmistakable scent of colostrum. Olfactory cues, sharp and potent in the desert twilight, lead the newborn inexorably toward the source of life. With tentative, shaky steps, the calf makes exploratory touches, its soft nose brushing against the resilient skin of the maternal abdomen. Each gentle nudge is met with absolute maternal stillness. The mother dromedary lowers her weight slightly, accommodating the search with quiet grace, her deep, steady breathing serving as a metronome for the newborn's efforts. The low vibrational hum resonates through the sand, reassuring the searching infant as it navigates the terrain of its mother's anatomy. Sweeping its head in a gentle, sweeping arc, the calf's searching mouth encounters the warm, pendulous udder. Specialized teat morphology, evolved over millennia to withstand the harsh arid climate, allows for an effortless latch. The newborn's lips wrap securely around the teat, and with a sudden, eager tug, the very first nursing session commences. A soft, rhythmic swallowing sound breaks the desert quiet, blending seamlessly with the whisper of the gentle wind through the sparse acacia branches. Inside the calf's delicate digestive tract, this initial rush of liquid nourishment initiates a vital metabolic awakening. Rich in immunoglobulins and essential nutrients, the milk begins its work, fortifying the fragile immune system against the chill of the encroaching night. Wrapped in the secure embrace of maternal warmth, the calf surrenders entirely to the restorative rhythm of feeding, its small body relaxing completely as sustenance flows into strength. As the sweet, nutrient-dense fluid flows, a remarkable biological alchemy unfolds within the newborn system. Camel milk is an evolutionary masterpiece, uniquely engineered to sustain life in the most unforgiving arid ecosystems. Unlike the milk of many other ungulates, this opaque white elixir boasts an exceptionally high concentration of protective proteins, including high levels of lactoferrin and lysozyme. These natural antimicrobial agents work silently within the calf's digestive tract, providing an immediate, robust shield against opportunistic desert pathogens long before the neonate's own immune system is fully mature. Furthermore, the milk's specialized emulsion chemistry delivers a concentrated burst of vitamin C and essential minerals, far exceeding the nutritional potency found in bovine dairy. These micronutrients play a critical role in cellular repair and metabolic stabilization, ensuring the calf can swiftly adapt to wide temperature fluctuations of the spring desert. The fats within the milk are suspended in unusually small globules, wrapped in a unique protein membrane that accelerates enzymatic breakdown. This structural adaptation allows for rapid, efficient absorption of vital fatty acids, flooding the growing muscles and developing organs with sustained, clean energy. With every slow, rhythmic swallow, the calf ingests a high proportion of water bound tightly within the whey proteins. This crucial hydration instantly rehydrates tissues that were delicately taxed during birth, plumping the soft cellular walls and stabilizing blood plasma volume against the dry evening air. The gentle warmth radiating from the mother's core blends with the thermal comfort of the ingested nourishment, wrapping the newborn in a profound, physiological sense of security. The quiet desert night continues to deepen, holding the resting pair in a tranquil balance of biological perfection. The act of nursing occurs in absolute quiet, accompanied only by the soft, rhythmic breathing of the mother and the gentle rustling of the evening breeze through the sparse desert shrubs. Standing over her resting neonate, the female dromedary adjusts her weight with minute, deliberate precision, offering a steady, immovable anchor against the cooling sands. Her long, dark eyelashes flutter downward, half closing in an expression of deep maternal calm that radiates a low, somatic rumble through her chest wall, a tactile vibration that reassures and centers the newborn. During these quiet moments of suckling, specialized musculature in the mother's mammary gland contracts in slow, metronomic waves. This physiological action ensures a steady, unhurried delivery of nourishment, perfectly synchronized with the infant's steady breathing pattern. The gentle desert air carries no harsh sounds, only the faint, soothing cadence of swallowing and the soft whisper of fine-grained sand shifting along the distant dune crests. As the final drops of the nutrient-rich fluid are consumed, the calf's rhythmic sucking gradually softens into a series of slow, contented sighs. Its heavy eyelids droop, weighed down by the satisfying warmth flooding its digestive tract and the profound security of the maternal bond. The mother lowers her neck further, resting her velvety muzzle gently against the newborn's flank to shield it from the rising night chill. Together, bathed in the fading violet light of twilight, they dissolve into the stillness of the sprawling landscape, perfectly attuned to the slow, peaceful rhythm of the desert night. The cooling desert air deepens to a rich indigo, wrapping the resting pair in a blanket of tranquil shadows. With its belly comfortably full of concentrated nourishment, the newborn calf relaxes completely, its long, spindly legs folding inward. It settles its weight snugly against the mother's broad, warm chest, seeking the familiar rise and fall of her respiration. High above the rolling dunes, the first stars of the evening puncture the darkening vault of the sky, casting a faint, silvery sheen across the landscape. The mother dromedary remains steadfast, her towering form curved protectively around her sleeping offspring. She exhales a long, slow breath, a gentle, rhythmic gust that mixes softly with the faint rustling of distant acacia leaves. Her low, rumbling vocalizations cease, replaced by the profound, restorative quiet of the night. Within this stillness, the calf's metabolic processes transition smoothly from active growth to deep, restorative cellular repair. The specialized proteins and protective immunoglobulins absorbed moments before begin their vital work, fortifying the young animal's developing immune system against the stark temperature swings of the arid environment. Enfolded in absolute security, the neonate's breathing slows into a steady, metronomic cadence. The mother tucks her head close, her velvety muzzle resting lightly upon the sand beside her resting infant. Together, they dissolve into the serene embrace of the desert night, perfectly synchronized with the ancient, unhurried rhythm of the earth. The blazing amber and rose hues of the spring desert horizon slowly melt into a deep, velvety indigo as twilight yields to the quiet hours of night. With the vanishing sun, the searing heat of the day surrenders to a gentle, cooling breeze that whispers softly across the undulating dunes. This rapid drop in temperature is a welcome relief for the dromedary herd, prompting an instinctive shift in their behavior. The adult camels, their long and graceful silhouettes etching against a brilliant, star-studded sky, begin to slow their rhythmic, purposeful stride, moving with a quiet, synchronized grace. The matriarchs guide the family group away from the open expanses toward a sheltered depression between the ridges, where the sand is softest and the wind is mild. As they settle, the massive animals initiate a careful, deliberate sequence of movements to prepare for communal rest. Each adult folds its slender forelegs beneath its body, lowering its immense weight with surprising gentleness onto thick, leathery chest pads known as sternal calluses. These specialized anatomical adaptations act as natural insulators, lifting the camel's vital organs well above the cooling earth and protecting them from the conductive chill of the desert floor. The air fills with the subtle, comforting sounds of evening. The faint hiss of shifting sand settling beneath heavy frames, the steady, rhythmic exhalations of slow breath, and the occasional clicking scrape of a hoof against stone. In this tranquil sanctuary of shadow and starlight, the sprawling desert falls into a profound, restorative stillness, wrapped safely in the patient embrace of the night. These remarkable anatomical structures are engineering marvels born of evolutionary necessity. A camel's sternal callus, along with the tough, keratinized pads resting upon the joints of its forelegs and hind legs, bears the brunt of the animal's considerable bulk. When an adult dromedary folds its frame into the sand, up to 80% of its resting weight is anchored securely onto these durable shields. Beneath the leathery exterior lies a dense cushion of fibrous tissue. This specialized padding distributes the heavy load evenly, preventing the abrasive desert grit from chafing delicate skin while insulating the body against both the scorching heat of daytime sands and the conductive, biting chill of nocturnal earth. Without these callous pads, the rocky terrain and mineral-rich crust of the spring desert would cause injury during prolonged rest. For the young calf, these protective shields are still soft and unformed, requiring the constant, enveloping warmth of its mother's body. While the adults rest firmly upon their hardened pedestals, the calf curls close against the mother's flank, absorbing her body heat and sheltered from the cooling draft. Together, the hardened armor of the elders and the delicate vulnerability of the newborn create a balanced harmony within the resting circle, allowing the entire family group to drift into a deep, untroubled slumber beneath the glowing expanse of the Milky Way. Guided by gentle nudges of a velvety muzzle, the young calf is directed away from the exposed periphery and deeper into the sheltered heart of the herd. Here, in the very center of the family group, the towering adult bodies form a living, breathing rampart against the whispering nighttime breezes. This tight formation creates a secure microenvironment, significantly warmer and calmer than the open desert flats beyond. Surrounded on all sides by the quiet, statuesque silhouettes of aunts and older siblings, the newborn is enveloped in a profound sense of safety. The massive frames of the matriarchs and bulls act as a natural windbreak, intercepting the descending spring chill before it can reach the delicate calf. In this protected enclosure, the air is still and heavy with the comforting, earthy scent of warm fur and dry sand. Within this secure circle, the social hierarchy of the dromedary reveals its most nurturing aspect. The strongest and most experienced members of the herd deliberately occupy the outermost positions, offering their own bodies as a living shield for the most vulnerable. Safe within this concentric ring of protection, the calf feels no need to wander or stir. It rests completely relaxed against its mother's chest, lulled by the rhythmic rise and fall of her breathing and the steady, reassuring presence of the surrounding family. Under the vast, starry canopy, the desert night holds no threat, only the deep, unbroken peace of a community bound together by ancient survival instincts and quiet affection. Out of the quiet darkness, a low, resonant vibration begins to ripple through the resting herd. This is the secret language of the dromedary, a series of low-frequency rumbles and soft, bubbling gurgles that operate well below the threshold of human hearing, yet can be felt as a gentle pulse through the cooling sand. Producing these sounds requires a specialized anatomical adaptation, a flexible, inflatable diverticulum of the soft palate that allows the adult camels to project deep, resonant tones without ever parting their lips. The mother initiates a continuous, low maternal hum, a soothing auditory anchor wrapping around her young calf like a warm blanket. This gentle vocalization is a pillar of camel parenting, signaling absolute security and reinforcing the intimate bond between mother and offspring across the quiet night. As the mother exhales, her throat pouch vibrates rhythmically, sending a steady, rhythmic cadence through the still desert air. Nearby ants and older herd members respond with their own muted, subterranean groans. These harmonious, low-pitched notes pass quietly from one resting animal to the next, weaving an acoustic tapestry of communal well-being across the entire family group. Sound travels exceptionally well in the dense, cooling air of the spring desert, and these unobtrusive murmurs serve to maintain the social cohesion of the herd without drawing the attention of distant predators. Enveloped in this symphony of soft vibrations, the calf closes its heavy eyelids. The steady, rumbling frequency matches the gentle beat of its own tiny heart, lulling it deeper into a state of profound relaxation. Every murmur is a reminder that it is never alone, held safely within the heart of a deeply connected community that speaks in whispers through the night. Above the undulating dunes, the twilight completely yields to the majestic expanse of the night. A brilliant, unblemished canopy of desert stars emerges in breathtaking clarity, unfurling a blanket of silver constellations across the vast expanse. Far from the atmospheric interference of the wider world, the spring air is exceptionally crisp and clear, allowing distant galaxies to cast a faint, silvery luminescence over the sleeping herd. Against this celestial backdrop, the camels remain entirely still, anchored securely to the cooling earth by their dense sternal pads. The desert becomes a theater of pure tranquility. The steady, rhythmic breathing of dozens of resting dromedaries provides a continuous, hypnotic audio backdrop, a slow, deep inhalation and a long, sighing exhalation that echoes softly through the stillness. With every breath, the chest calluses insulate the massive bodies from the descending nocturnal chill, preserving the warmth accumulated during the sunlit hours. This synchronized respiration creates a gentle, pulsing tide of sound, rising and falling like the slow movement of an inland sea. High above, a soft breeze whispers over the crests of the distant sand ridges, carrying the faint, dry rustle of windswept grains. Far off in the dark, the sporadic chirp of a night insect punctuates the quiet, but it is quickly absorbed by the immense silence of the dunes. The young calf rests deeply within this peaceful haven, its slender legs tucked neatly beneath its small frame. Shielded by towering flanks on every side and canopied by an infinite sea of stars, the little dromedary drifts into a profound and dreamless sleep, cradled safely in the heart of the resting desert. Hours slip silently away in undisturbed peace. As the nocturnal chill deepens toward its lowest point, subtle, almost imperceptible shifts begin to ripple through the resting herd. A massive matriarch twitches a velvety ear, her long eyelashes fluttering as her internal clock registers the slow, creeping approach of a new spring day on the horizon. Far below the glittering constellations, the cooling desert floor holds the final whispers of the night's frost. Yet deep within the clustered circle, the metabolic furnace of the resting dromedaries maintains a gentle, stabilizing warmth. The mother camel lifts her head slightly, scanning the dim horizon where the deep indigo sky begins to soften into a bruised, powdery violet. With a soft, bubbling sigh that vibrates gently in her throat, she nudges her sleeping calf, encouraging the little one to stretch its developing limbs. The calf stirs, blinking open large, dark eyes to greet the fading shadows. It remains nestled against its mother's thick, insulating flank, absorbing the last remnants of shared body heat before the morning sun begins its slow climb. A faint stirring travels from camel to camel across the sandy basin. Necks are extended and soft, Low-frequency hums drift through the crisp air like a hidden melody waking the earth. The desert waits in a delicate, breathless pause, holding the tranquil quiet of the night just moments before the first golden rays of dawn touch the crest of the dunes. A delicate, chilly pre-dawn mist curls silently around the weathered rocky outcrops of the Gobi Desert, softening the stark horizon in a veil of pearlescent gray. The air is crisp and still, carrying the faint, earthy scent of damp sand and dormant desert scrub. Across this quiet, slumbering landscape, the resting camel herd is draped in stillness, appearing as gentle, shadowy mounds against the pale dunes. Nestled close to the sheltering warmth of its mother's massive flank, the young dromedary calf begins to stir. Its dark, long-lashed eyes flutter open, taking in the dim, tranquil world of early morning. Driven by a natural surge of neurochemical activity that signals the end of its restorative sleep cycle, the calf stretches its long, slender legs outward one by one. This gentle movement exercises its rapidly developing joints and encourages blood flow to its maturing muscles. The cool desert air brushes against its thickening coat, a specialized downy fleece designed to insulate its growing body against the nocturnal chill. With soft, rhythmic breaths, the calf releases tiny puffs of warm vapor into the frosty atmosphere. It lifts its triangular head, rotating its sensitive ears to catch the subtle, ambient sounds of the waking wilderness, the faint whisper of a gentle breeze sliding over sand ripples, and the low, reassuring rustle of dry grasses swaying in the distance. Beside it, the mother remains a steady, protective anchor, her heavy eyelids half closed as she rests in sternal recumbency, her body folded neatly beneath her. The calf gives its tail a light, sleepy flick, luxuriating in the profound peace of the pre-dawn hours before the vast desert demands its daily journey. Emboldened by the steady accumulation of strength over the recent spring weeks, the young dromedary calf gathers its slender limbs beneath its torso and rises in one fluid, graceful motion. Its long-boned legs lock securely into place, a marvelous display of early anatomical coordination that allows the newborn to stand with remarkable stability on shifting ground. Feeling the surge of juvenile curiosity, the calf turns its attention away from the maternal warmth. It shifts its weight forward, taking its very first deliberate, independent steps beyond the familiar shadow of its mother's flank. Each placement of its soft, padded footfalls makes a nearly silent impression upon the smooth, cool sand, disturbing the delicate ripples crafted by the night winds. The immediate terrain offers a fascinating mosaic of textures for the developing sensory system to interpret. The calf extends its velvety muzzle downward, inhaling the rich mineral scent of scattered stones and weathering pebbles. Its mobile upper lip, densely packed with tactile receptors, brushes lightly against a jagged outcrop of rock, registering the hard, cool reality of the desert floor. Every step is an exercise in spatial awareness and muscular control as the calf navigates the subtle slopes and dips of the pale dune. Far from a reckless dash, these exploratory movements are measured and deliberate. The calf pauses frequently, balancing its weight on three legs while lifting the fourth, testing its equilibrium in the quiet, misty air. It is a slow, methodical charting of the world, driven by a growing confidence that stretches its boundaries just a few paces wider into the peaceful dawn. A few paces from the rocky outcrop, a small drift of sand cradles a surprising cluster of green. Delicate, needle-thin shoots of spring grass have pushed through the crust, fueled by the brief, precious moisture of the season. The calf pauses, drawn by an unfamiliar, vibrant scent carried on the gentle breeze. It lowers its head, the long eyelashes of its dark eyes fluttering as it focuses entirely on the tiny emerald patches. With precise muscular control, the young dromedary extends its velvety upper lip. This specialized organ, richly endowed with sensitive nerve endings, serves as the ultimate tactile tool for a nomadic herbivore. The calf brushes its soft muzzle gently against the tips of the green blades, testing their resilience and temperature. It breathes in deeply, cataloging the crisp, earthy fragrance of living plant matter, an olfactory memory that will guide its foraging choices in the months to come. Unlike the mature members of the herd, who will soon shear these plants down with powerful incisors, the calf does not yet harvest the forage. Its digestive system is still transitioning, relying entirely on rich maternal milk. Instead, this gentle contact is an exercise in sensory development. The calf explores the contrast between the cool, smooth moisture of the vegetation and the dry grit of the surrounding sand. Each touch sends detailed neural impulses to its developing brain, mapping the diverse textures of the desert floor. The tiny shoots yield softly beneath its sensitive lip, offering a peaceful, tactile puzzle that keeps the young explorer entirely absorbed in the quiet morning light. The cool morning breeze shifts, carrying the scent of the wider basin away from the sheltered outcrop. Sensing the change, the calf lifts its head from the patch of spring grass, its long ears swiveling independently to catch the subtle ambient sounds of the waking desert. A few body lengths away, the resting shape of its mother stirs slightly in the pale mist. Without rising from her cushioned brisket, she directs her gaze toward her wandering offspring. From deep within her chest, the mother emits a low-frequency, resonant rumble. This infrasonic vocalization, largely imperceptible to human ears, travels effectively across the dense morning air as a physical vibration through the sand. The calf recognizes the familiar grounding cue instantly. The deep hum resonates in the open space, acting as an invisible tether that links the young dromedary securely to the family group. Pausing its exploration mid-step, the calf freezes. Its developing nervous system processes the auditory and vibrational signal, translating the maternal message into immediate spatial awareness. The calf turns its head, blinking heavy eyes against the rising chill, and reorients its body toward the protective presence of its mother. Around them, the rest of the nomadic herd begins to shift in the dim light. Gentle rustling sounds ripple through the sparse grasses as other adults stretch long legs and adjust their resting positions against the encroaching dawn. The calf takes a deliberate, unhurried step back toward the maternal warmth, guided safely by the silent, powerful language that holds the desert family together through every season of their wandering life. First light spills silently across the basin, painting the weathered granite outcrops in pale amber and soft rose. The lingering pre-dawn mist thaws, lifting slowly into the brightening sky as the desert transitions from night to day. Across the resting grounds, the surrounding adult camels begin to shift their massive bodies. With a rhythmic sequence of adjustments, they rise gracefully from their thick chest pads, unfolding long, slender legs in a fluid motion designed to conserve energy and protect their joints. The calf watches these towering movements intently, its large, dark eyes absorbing the social rhythms and predictable patterns of the herd. Camels possess specialized anatomical adaptations, including heavily calloused sternal pads that cushion their immense weight during rest, and watching the adults leverage these pads provides a quiet, lifelong lesson in desert biomechanics. A gentle breeze stirs the sparse, dry grasses, carrying the earthy scent of warming sand. The adult herd members shake out their winter coats, loosening tufts of fine underfur as they prepare for the long day of foraging ahead. Distant hoofsteps echo softly on the gravelly plain, blending with the whisper of the morning wind. Standing safely near its mother's flank, the calf mirrors the relaxed posture of the adults. It drops its weight slightly, settling back onto its own tender brisket. The young dromedary rests its head upon the cool earth, secure in the rhythms of the family group. In this tranquil haven of rock and sand, the newborn rests peacefully, bathed in the gentle warmth of the rising spring sun. Satisfied with its brief morning exploration, The young calf trots softly back toward the familiar shelter of its mother's side. Its small, uncalloused joints move with a buoyant grace, still free from the heavier weight it will carry in maturity. As it draws near, the mother lowers her long neck, enveloping her offspring in a gentle, protective embrace that offers both reassurance and thermal comfort against the lingering morning chill. The calf settles gently down onto the cool spring earth, folding its long legs beneath its torso with a practiced ease. It rests its head beside its mother's thick brisket, absorbing her steady, comforting warmth as the new day fully begins. This close contact is vital for the young dromedary, not only for physical warmth, but for reinforcing the strong maternal bond that will sustain it through its early months. Around them, the Gobi Desert awakens under the expanding light of the morning sun. The air warms slowly, carrying the subtle fragrances of mineral-rich soil and awakening vegetation across the basin. Secure in the heart of the resting family group, the calf closes its large eyes, its breathing slowing in quiet harmony with the resting herd. In the deep peace of the spring morning, the young nomad drifts into a restful sleep, cradled by the timeless rhythms of the desert landscape. The gentle winds of spring surrender slowly to a heavy, breathless calm across the lowlands, and with this seasonal shift, the desert enters its most formidable trial. Summer arrives not with a sudden storm, but as an overwhelming, radiant pressure. Across the wide, sun-baked plains, the ambient temperature climbs steadily upward, turning the horizon into a shimmering mirage where distant ridges seem to float upon waves of liquid light. Here, upon the exposed stone and fine gravel of the desert floor, the young camel stands against a landscape transformed by fire and dust. The air itself feels thick, carrying the faint, vibrating hum of intense heat radiating upward from the earth. Every grain of sand holds the memory of yesterday's sun, glowing with stored thermal energy that wraps around the growing animal like a heavy blanket. For the juvenile, this is a defining threshold. Having left behind the protection of infancy, the young camel now faces its very first season of extreme thermal challenge. While other mammals might retreat or falter beneath such punishing skies, the camel's form is sculpted for this crucible. Its long legs elevate its body high above the superheated soil, catching the faintest breeze drifting across the plains, far from the earth's most blistering surface. As the sun begins its long, unyielding arc toward the afternoon peak, the landscape grows quiet. The rustle of soft leather-like footpads against shifting sand grains marks the juvenile's slow, deliberate steps. There is no wasted movement in this world. Every action is calculated by instinct to conserve precious moisture and energy. The heat presses down, a vast and silent force, testing the young animal's developing resilience as it prepares to navigate the furnace of the afternoon. Beneath the weight of the afternoon glare, the young camel pauses. In most mammals, surviving such intense heat requires an immediate, desperate defense. Heavy sweating or frantic panting to cool the blood, but precious water is the most valuable currency in this parched domain, and expending it to maintain a constant, cool interior would quickly drain the body's reserves. Instead, the growing animal employs a far more elegant physiological strategy. Rather than fighting the ambient warmth with evaporative cooling, the juvenile simply allows its core body temperature to rise. As the sun beats down, internal heat storage increases, narrowing the difference between the animal's body and the scorching air around it. By permitting this safe thermal fluctuation, the camel avoids sweating entirely, preserving every precious drop of moisture within its tissues. The low, soft rumbling of an empty stomach echoes quietly as digestion slows, reducing internal metabolic heat production to help the body manage the load. This natural flexibility transforms the young camel into a walking thermal battery. The rising internal temperature acts as a sponge, absorbing the ambient heat without harming vital organs. It is a brilliant biological compromise, allowing the juvenile to endure the harshest hours of the day in a state of quiet, conservationist equilibrium, perfectly attuned to the demanding rhythms of the baked earth below. Yet, while the rest of the body is permitted to absorb this soaring warmth, one vital command center must be fiercely guarded. The brain is remarkably sensitive to extreme heat, unable to tolerate the wide temperature swings that the rest of the juvenile's frame handles with ease. To solve this physiological puzzle, nature has engineered an exquisite internal cooling system hidden deep at the base of the skull, known as the rete mirabile. As arterial blood surges upward from the heart, carrying the full warmth of the sun-baked core, it passes through this marvelous network of delicate, intertwined vessels. Encircling these arteries is a specialized venous network returning cool, air-conditioned blood from the nasal passages, where moisture has evaporated against the dry desert breeze. In a stunning display of biological engineering, the cool venous blood absorbs heat directly from the arterial blood through a countercurrent heat exchange. By the time the blood reaches the delicate neural tissue, its temperature has dropped significantly. The brain remains cool, clear, and protected, functioning comfortably even as the surrounding neck and torso register temperatures that would overwhelm other mammals. There is no panting, no wasted moisture, and no distress, only a silent, ceaseless hydraulic exchange keeping the young mind steady against the furnace of the afternoon. With its cognitive center safely insulated from the thermal extremes, the juvenile feels the heavy pull of the afternoon begin to soften. The harsh glare above starts to bend, casting longer, cooler silhouettes across the shimmering stones. With the internal cooling network operating seamlessly, the young camel turns its attention to the sun-drenched earth below. The ambient temperature is at its daily peak, and the vast, stone-strewn desert floor radiates a steady, shimmering wave of heat. Seeking thermal relief, the juvenile slows its pace and selects a shallow hollow nestled against the base of a weathered, sun-baked outcrop of rock. Here, shielded from the direct sweep of the hot desert wind, the animal prepares to rest. It lowers its heavy frame gently onto the warm earth, executing a deliberate sequence of movements designed to minimize solar radiation absorption. First, it folds its slender forelegs beneath its chest, followed by the hind limbs, tucking them tightly against its torso. By drawing its limbs close in this compact position, the growing camel significantly reduces the surface area of its body exposed to the glaring overhead sun and the glowing earth. To further optimize its posture, the juvenile orients its body parallel to the highest angle of the sun, presenting the narrowest possible profile to the descending rays. A soft leather pad rustle accompanies the settling of thick, calloused knees into the shifting sand grains. As it settles into the hollow, a low, rumbling stomach echoes softly through the quiet air, a gentle reminder of its ongoing metabolic regulation and the quiet processing of fibrous desert forage. Head held high upon a relaxed neck, the young camel rests in stillness. There is no frantic searching for deep shade or cool water, only a quiet harmony with the harsh environment. Protected by specialized anatomy and clever positioning, the juvenile waits out the fiercest heat of the day, embraced by the slow, steady rhythm of the wild. Even as the afternoon sun beats down without mercy, the young camel remains remarkably cool beneath an unexpected blanket. At first glance, a heavy coat seems ill-suited for the blazing desert summer. Yet, this dense, woolly fleece operates as a sophisticated thermal shield, defying simple intuition. The thick fibers serve a dual purpose, engineered by evolution to master both extremes. While people often picture camels shedding completely for the warmth, the remaining layer of interwoven hair traps a complex network of still air pockets next to the skin. This dense mat acts as a formidable barrier against the searing environmental heat. Rather than conducting the scorching temperatures directly to the animal's hide, the wool absorbs the thermal energy externally, keeping the heat trapped far away from the delicate skin surface. In the deep, insulating layers of the coat, the ambient temperature can soar dramatically, while the skin beneath remains insulated and cool. The pale, sandy-colored fibers also play a vital role, reflecting a significant portion of the blinding solar radiation before it ever reaches the fleece. This natural armor prevents the young animal's body from absorbing the full brunt of the sun's fiery rays. As the juvenile rests quietly in the shallow hollow, its coat performs its silent work, demonstrating a masterclass in biological insulation. The wind whispers softly across the outer tips of the fur, carrying the excess warmth harmlessly away into the shimmering air. Through this ingenious adaptation, the heavy coat proves to be just as essential for surviving the fires of summer as it is for weathering the chills of winter, wrapping the growing traveler in a peaceful cocoon of natural protection. Slowly, the fierce glare atop the stone-strewn desert floor begins to soften. The harsh white light of midday yields to a rich amber glow, casting long, peaceful shadows across the baked sand and exposed rock. With this gentle shift in the atmosphere, the faint heat haze hum begins to fade, replaced by the quiet stillness of the descending evening. The hot desert wind eases into a soft, cooling breeze. This welcome current carries the day's trapped warmth away from the landscape and through the juvenile's woolly fleece, allowing the dense fibers to finally release their thermal load. Inside the young camel's body, the remarkable heterothermic cycle completes its daily turn. Having safely stored excess heat hours earlier without wasting precious water on cooling sweat, the animal's internal thermostat now begins to gently lower the core body temperature back toward its baseline. Refreshed by the resting hours and the dropping ambient temperature, the young animal stirs against the shifting sand grains. A low, rumbling stomach signals that it is time to forage once more. With a soft, leather pad rustle, the juvenile unfolds its long legs and rises to standing. The rest of the herd stirs in unison, stretching across the cooling dunes as the vibrant colors of twilight paint the horizon. There is no rush in their movements, only the steady, rhythmic cadence of survival in an ancient land. Side by side, the camels drift forward into the gathering dusk, ready to embrace the quiet peace of the desert night. The midsummer sun claims the flat, dusty plain with an unyielding, oppressive weight. High above, a brassy sky radiates a heavy, blinding glare that shimmers and dances across the horizon, blurring the distance in a mirage of heat. Every grain of sand seems to hold the fire of the day, reflecting thermal waves upward into the still, heavy air. Through this breathless expanse moves a young dromedary, a growing juvenile navigating the stark landscape with steady, deliberate footsteps. Each stride is measured and calm, driven by an instinct older than the dunes themselves. The young camel's long legs carry him effortlessly over the baking earth, his footpads, broad and leathery, acting as natural insulators against the scorching surface temperatures below. At this stage in his life, the juvenile is learning the vital art of energy conservation. His lightweight summer coat, currently shedding its thicker winter underlayer, lies smooth and pale against his hide, designed specifically to reflect the most punishing rays of the sun rather than absorb them. As he walks, a faint plume of fine dust rises from his hooves, settling softly back onto the earth in the profound quiet of the afternoon. There is no rush in his movement, only the slow, rhythmic sway of a creature attuned to the rhythms of the desert. The oppressive heat presses down on the open plain, wrapping the landscape in a deep, heavy slumber. Every breath the young camel takes is slow and deep, drawing in the warm air as he surveys the vast, empty horizon, pressing onward across the sun-drenched floor toward the distant, hazy outline of scattered trees. Ahead, breaking the endless golden monotony of the horizon, A cluster of drought-resistant acacia trees rises like a fragile promise of relief. The family group converges toward this sparse oasis, their footsteps muffled by the dust, though the acacia canopy is delicate and thin, offering none of the dense shadows found in northern forests. Its presence creates a vital microclimate in the punishing expanse of the desert. As the young dromedary draws closer, he enters the dappled perimeter of shade. Here, the temperature drops just enough to ease the fierce burden of the afternoon. The trees themselves are masterworks of survival. Their tiny, feathery leaves turn away from the harshest angles of the sun to minimize moisture loss. Yet they cast enough broken shade to intercept the most aggressive direct solar radiation. Botanical defense meets mammalian need in this quiet meeting place. The acacias stand resilient with deep taproots tapping hidden moisture far below, while the desert wanderers gratefully press into their thin shelter. The juvenile slows his pace further, finding a vacant patch of earth beneath the widest branch. He lowers his lanky frame with careful, deliberate grace, seeking the sanctuary of the branches above, where the heavy glare is softened into a gentler, muted amber glow. With the same slow and measured deliberation that guides all his kind, the young dromedary prepares to settle against the earth. The ground beneath him radiates the lingering, intense heat of the midsummer sun, a shimmering layer of thermal energy that would scorch the sensitive skin of most mammals. Yet, evolution has provided this desert wanderer with remarkable biological insulation. He folds his long legs beneath his frame in a familiar, two-stage motion, first sinking onto his front knees and then tucking his hindquarters neatly into place. He comes to rest directly upon a set of thick, leathery calluses, anatomical marvels of keratinized skin that act as natural shields. A massive, prominent sternal pedestal anchors his chest, elevating his vital organs several inches above the baking sand. This ingenious pedestal, combined with heavy calluses on his joints, keeps his soft flesh from making direct contact with the blistering ground, lifting his body into the slight, moving currents of air that weave through the lower branches of the acacia. As his weight settles securely onto these hardened pads, a visible sigh ripples through his lanky form. The tight tension in his muscles finally loosens. The ground beneath him is hot, but his specialized anatomy safely absorbs and deflects the thermal threat, allowing his internal temperature to stabilize. Safe within the dappled shelter, his breathing deepens into a slow, rhythmic cadence. He rests in profound comfort, perfectly adapted to endure the extremes of a sun-scorched world, melting peacefully into the quiet afternoon stillness. With his limbs safely tucked and his body elevated upon his protective sternal pedestal, the young dromedary turns his attention inward, slipping into the quiet, rhythmic ritual of rumination. In the heavy, sun-drenched hush of the afternoon, a soft, contented stillness washes over the resting herd. Soon, a gentle muscular ripple stirs his throat. A small portion of partially digested browse, softened in his multi-chambered stomach, is effortlessly guided back up the esophagus to be processed once more. With slow, rhythmic sweeps of his lower jaw, he begins to chew his cud. The motion is steady, unhurried, and hypnotic. Side to side, his teeth grind methodically, breaking down tough acacia fibers into easily digestible nutrients. This specialized digestive adaptation allows him to extract maximum moisture and nourishment from the harshest desert vegetation, turning dry, prickly leaves into vital fuel for growth. Around him, the other members of the herd mirror his tranquil state. The faint, muffled sounds of grinding teeth blend seamlessly with the soft, steady breathing of the resting animals. A few distant insects hum lazily in the warm air, their buzzing muffled by the vast emptiness of the sun-baked plains. There is no rush, no urgency in this shaded sanctuary. The young camel's eyelids droop heavily over dark, long-lashed eyes as he surrenders to the hypnotic cadence of his own digestion. Each slow rotation of his jaw is a small, quiet act of survival, grounding him deeply in the gentle, unchanging rhythm of the wild. Here, beneath the sparse, protective canopy, time slows to a crawl, wrapping the landscape in an atmosphere of profound and restorative peace. Slowly, imperceptibly, the character of the day begins to change. The fierce, white-hot glare that has pressed down upon the dusty plains for hours softens at the edges, diffusing into a rich, buttery gold. The sun, having completed its long, punishing arc across the sky, begins its gentle descent toward the western horizon. As the solar angle shifts, the scattered acacia trees stretch their silhouettes across the earth, casting long, elegant amber shadows that ripple softly over the sand. This gradual retreat of direct sunlight brings an immediate easing of the thermal burden that has weighed so heavily upon the landscape. The shimmering heat waves that danced above the distant horizon begin to settle, replaced by a clear, sharpening focus on the rolling contours of the desert. High above, the pale blue vault of the sky warms into deepening shades of apricot, violet, and rose. Clouds, thin and wispy, catch the final, horizontal rays of daylight, glowing like embers against the gathering dusk. The intensity of the afternoon dissolves into a calm, golden twilight, wrapping the resting herd in a warm, forgiving embrace. The young dromedary's chewing slows and finally ceases as he pauses to absorb the shifting atmosphere. The air against his sun-bleached coat loses its sharp, scorching edge, with a deep, long exhale that stirs the dust near his muzzle. He lets his head rest a fraction lower toward the cooling earth. The harsh demands of the midsummer afternoon fade into memory, replaced by the tranquil, breathing stillness of the approaching evening. Then, like a whispered promise across the open flats, the first cooling evening breeze arrives. This gentle thermal current sweeps over the dusty plain, rustling the dry, delicate leaves of the acacia trees above. The soft, papery friction of foliage creates a soothing, rhythmic murmur, a natural lullaby born of the desert. For the growing juvenile, the touch of the breeze brings profound physical relief. His specialized nasal passages, which played a crucial role in moisture conservation throughout the scorching day, now simply draw in the refreshing, lower temperature air. Heat that was stored deep within his dense, insulating coat begins to radiate safely away into the open atmosphere, cooling his massive frame without expending precious body water through heavy panting or excessive sweating. The adult dromedaries stir slightly in the deepening shadows, their joints shifting as they settle deeper into the cooling sand for the coming night. Far off in the distance, the low, steady hum of insects fades into a quiet, humming stillness. The sky above transitions from twilight, rose to a velvet, indigo blue, pricked gently by the first pale stars of evening. Surrounded by the protective, slumbering herd, the young camel lets his heavy eyelids drift downward. The dry earth beneath his calloused chest pads is no longer a source of searing heat, but a comforting anchor in the gathering dark. With every slow, measured breath, the rhythmic sound of soft breathing blends with the whispering wind, weaving a blanket of profound tranquility over the vast, peaceful plains. A vast, silver-white ocean of sand stretches across the silent basin, illuminated by the pale, steady gaze of the desert moon. There is no dew upon the dunes, no whisper of surface moisture in the crisp midnight air. Every blade of dry grass and every ripple of fine sand remains frozen in stillness, resting beneath a velvet sky dusted with distant, unblinking stars. In the heart of this quiet expanse, a young dromedary camel lies folded upon the cool earth. Her long legs are tucked neatly beneath a heavy frame, and her chin rests gently against the dust. With each slow, measured inhalation, a soft breath mingles with the night, carrying away the lingering heat of the long summer day. Faint, shifting grains of sand rustle against one another under the gentle breath of a desert breeze, accompanied only by a low, rhythmic rumbling vocalization deep within her chest, a quiet hum of absolute peace. Outwardly, the landscape appears motionless, devoid of life's demanding struggle. Yet, beneath the calm exterior of the resting juvenile, an extraordinary biological masterpiece unfolds in total darkness. In this arid domain where water is simply a memory, survival does not depend on drinking from a disappearing stream. Instead, it relies entirely on an invisible, brilliant economy of moisture. Every drop of fluid within the growing body is treated as a treasured resource, carefully guarded by microscopic systems working in silent harmony. As the nocturnal chill deepens, the camel's form surrenders to the restorative stillness of the night, letting her internal physiology begin the delicate, vital work of holding on to life within the driest place on earth. Deep within the warm architecture of the juvenile's abdomen, twin kidneys labor in quiet, magnificent isolation. These specialized organs are the masters of absolute conservation, designed by evolution to conquer the unforgiving math of the desert. Unlike other mammals whose bodies flush away metabolic waste with generous volumes of water, the camel's renal system operates on a principle of profound frugality. Long, looping structures known as loops of Henle plunge deep into the renal medulla, creating a powerful osmotic gradient. As blood filters through millions of microscopic nephrons, water is coaxed backward, pulled entirely out of the forming waste stream and returned directly to the circulatory pool. Every milligram of fluid is intercepted before it can escape. What remains behind is no ordinary urine, but a remarkably dense, syrupy concentrate. Urea, a nitrogenous byproduct of protein digestion that would poison other animals if allowed to accumulate, is not simply cast away. Instead, a portion of this urea is actively recycled, routed back through the bloodstream to the stomach where microbes convert it into useful microbial protein. The fluid that does pass downward into the bladder is reduced to a thick, viscous paste, extraordinarily high in solutes and startlingly low in precious moisture. By extracting nearly every trace of hydration from what would otherwise be lost, the kidneys ensure that the camel's internal reserves remain entirely intact. No water is squandered to cleanse the body of waste. The system works with the quiet efficiency of a closed loop, maintaining the delicate balance of life through sheer physiological brilliance, while the night breeze whispers softly across the sand. As the desert night deepens and a gentle wind brushes across the cooling basin, the changes continue within the juvenile's circulatory pathways. While the kidneys perform their quiet alchemy, the very cells traveling through the animal's blood vessels reveal another layer of profound adaptation. In almost every other mammal, red blood cells are shaped like neat, flexible circular discs. But in the camel, evolution has forged something entirely distinct. The juvenile's red blood cells are remarkably elongated, shaped like smooth, floating ovals. This unique geometry serves a vital purpose when summer imposes its severe demands. As days of extreme heat pass without a single drop of water, standard mammalian blood plasma begins to shrink. In circular cells, this sudden thickening causes cells to clump together sluggishly, threatening circulation. The oval erythrocytes of the camel, however, glide past one another with effortless grace. Their streamlined form prevents dangerous blockages, even as the fluid volume of the blood plasma reduces significantly. Furthermore, these specialized cells possess extraordinary membrane elasticity. Should the juvenile find a rare water source after weeks of thirst and drink massive volumes in a matter of minutes, absorbing up to a third of its body weight in water safely, other mammals would suffer from fatal osmotic shock as their red blood cells burst from sudden swelling. The camel's oval cells expand to several times their original size instead, stretching like tiny, resilient balloons without rupturing. As the faint rustling of sand settles outside, this cellular resilience ensures smooth, uninterrupted flow through every tiny capillary. The blood carries life effortlessly to every corner of the resting body, maintaining a quiet, steady rhythm beneath the starlit sky. Beneath the high canopy of desert stars, as the gentle wind carries a low, rumbling vocalization from a distant dune, the juvenile camel's internal management of heat takes center stage. In the freezing stillness of the night, the body temperature of the young animal drops noticeably, drifting down toward a cool 34 degrees Celsius. This deliberate nocturnal cooling sets the stage for a remarkable daytime strategy known as heterothermy. Unlike humans and most other mammals, which expend precious water to maintain a rigid, unyielding internal temperature, the dromedary embraces thermal flexibility. As the golden sun eventually begins its climb, the juvenile's core temperature is allowed to rise gradually, climbing by several degrees over the course of the day, rather than triggering immediate evaporative cooling. By permitting its internal temperature to fluctuate in harmony with the ambient summer heat, the camel acts as a massive thermal sponge. The heat is absorbed directly into the giant bulk of its body mass, storing warmth safely inside the tissues rather than driving it to the skin's surface. This physiological choice prevents the activation of sweat glands during the most punishing hours of sunlight, saving precious liters of water that would otherwise be lost to the dry air. Sweating is an expensive luxury in the arid wild, and the juvenile's body avoids it for as long as physics allows. Only when the core temperature climbs past a high threshold does light perspiration finally begin, a last resort executed with quiet efficiency. For now, resting in the peaceful embrace of the cooling night, the juvenile's system prepares itself anew, storing the chill of the desert air like a quiet promise of endurance against the coming heat. Deep within the core of the resting juvenile, far beneath the insulating quilt of sandy brown fur, another silent transformation unfolds in the darkness. As the breathing slows to a deep, rhythmic cadence, accompanied by the faint rustling of windswept sand outside, the animal's metabolism enters a profound state of quiet economy. This deliberate slowing of cellular activity acts as a biological dimmer switch. By dialing back the rate at which its cells consume energy, the young camel significantly reduces its internal oxygen demand. In the fierce theater of the summer desert, every chemical reaction within a living body generates waste heat. By dampening these metabolic fires during the night, the juvenile prevents the unnecessary production of internal warmth, lessening the thermal burden it will have to carry when the sun returns. Cellular respiration ticks along at a gentle, hushed pace. Organs that hum with frantic energy in other mammals shift here into a low-power slumber. This metabolic suppression is an evolutionary masterclass in resource conservation, ensuring that every drop of glucose and every breath of air is translated into maximum efficiency with minimal thermal byproduct. The body's engines are throttled back to a tranquil idle, perfectly attuned to the stark realities of an arid world where excess energy expenditure carries a heavy, sometimes fatal, cost. Surrounded by the distant, low nocturnal hum of the vast basin, the juvenile rests in absolute equilibrium. Its lowered metabolism complements the cooling night air, wrapping the young animal in a cocoon of physiological grace. Here, in the stillness before dawn, life is not merely sustained, it is carefully, beautifully preserved. Enveloped in the gentle wind that sweeps across the cooling dunes, the young camel rests in profound, uninterrupted tranquility. Soft breathing matches the rhythmic sway of the desert night, creating a peaceful pulse that resonates deep within the basin. Every biological system, from the highly efficient loop of Henle in the kidneys reclaiming every trace of moisture, to the oval red blood cells navigating a thickened plasma with effortless grace, operates in synchronized perfection, In this quiet hour before the first pale brushstroke of dawn paints the horizon, the juvenile exists in complete physiological harmony. The internal economy of water has been balanced to a miraculous precision. Without a single drop passing its lips, the young animal has preserved its vital reserves, shielding its tissues from the punishing demands of the summer sun yet to come. As the faint rustling of sand whispers against its resting flanks, a subtle shift begins to stir the cool air. The deep nocturnal hum of the desert seems to draw a gentle breath, signaling the slow, inevitable approach of a new day. Yet, for now, the juvenile remains anchored in this sanctuary of stillness. Wrapped in the quiet resilience of its own remarkable biology, it continues to rest, fully prepared for whatever journey the rising sun will demand upon the endless sand. The oppressive stillness of the desert summer afternoon finally surrenders as the midnight hour approaches. Across the vast, pale expanse of the saline flats, a welcome transformation stirs the air. A gentle, cooling breeze sweeps down from the distant, shadowed ridges, carrying with it a profound drop in temperature. This thermal relief brings a vital slowing of metabolic water loss for the resident wildlife, easing the physiological strain of the scorching daylight hours. In the shelter of a low-crested dune, a growing juvenile camel shifts against the cooling sand. The day's radiant heat lingers just beneath the surface crust, but the upper air is now crisp and clear, dusted by the brilliant, steady light of a million overhead stars. The soft, rhythmic sound of shifting sand marks the moment the young camel unfolds its long limbs, rising in a fluid, unhurried motion to join the resting herd. Around it, massive silhouettes stir in the quiet dark. The adults are already finding their footing, drawn by ancient instinct toward the low-lying shrubland, where salt-tolerant halophytes and scattered acacia wait. The temperature gradient between the hot ground and the cool night wind creates gentle currents of air that carry the dry, earthy scent of desert vegetation across the flats. With measured, deliberate steps, the juvenile follows the lead of its mother. Every movement is wrapped in a peaceful hush, broken only by the faint rustle of dry brush against leathery footpads and the distant, steady hum of nocturnal insects. The desert at night is not empty. It is a realm of quiet endurance, where the cool air opens a narrow window of opportunity for life to sustain itself under the starlit sky. Leaving the sheltered dune behind, the small herd moves forward onto the vast, ancient lake bed. Here, the ground is a fragile mosaic of mineral crusts and powdery alkaline dust, bleached white under the heavy canopy of starlight. This difficult terrain demands absolute physical grace. With each stride across the brittle salt pans, the juvenile places its feet with care, learning the ancient pathways forged by generations before it. The secret to this effortless motion lies in the specialized anatomy of the camel's foot. Beneath each long leg is a broad, two-toed pad composed of resilient, fatty tissue. Unlike the sharp hooves of other ungulates, which would shatter or sink into the treacherous, crusty salt pans, these wide, leather-like soles expand gracefully upon impact. They distribute the young camel's growing weight evenly over the loose surface, preventing it from breaking through the fragile crust into the sticky mud below. As the herd glides silently across the pale pan, the sound is remarkably muted, merely a soft, muffled crunch of crystalline salt and the whisper of sand shifting beneath wide cushions. This anatomical marvel protects the delicate joint structures from the jarring impact of uneven ground while maximizing traction. The juveniles watch the older camels ahead, adjusting their stride to match the steady, hypnotic rhythm of the march. The cool midnight air washes over them, carrying away the lingering heat of the earth. Every step forward is a masterclass in energy conservation, moving with slow, measured deliberation toward the distant, dark shapes of scrubland waiting at the edge of the flats. At the edge of the saline flat, The low, gnarled shapes of desert scrub rise from the alkaline dust. The juvenile halts before a dry, unyielding bush, its branches bristling with stiff, razor-sharp thorns. To any other herbivore, this plant would be entirely untouchable. Yet the young camel approaches with absolute confidence, guided by an extraordinary piece of biological engineering. The mechanics of the camel's mouth are a masterclass in survival. The young animal extends a remarkably flexible, deeply split upper lip. This divided muzzle is covered in fine, tactile hairs that act as hypersensitive radar in the dark. Instead of relying purely on sight, the juvenile uses its split lip to expertly sort and select the most tender, nutrient-rich green shoots from the thorny defenses that surround them. Each half of the lip moves independently, parting the dangerous spines with astonishing dexterity. Once the delicate morsel is isolated, it is drawn inward toward specialized oral architecture designed to withstand extreme punishment. The interior of the mouth, including the roof and the inner lining of the cheeks, is heavily armored with hard, conical papillae. These thick, cornified mucous membranes point backward toward the throat, functioning like a dense forest of protective fingers. When the juvenile clamps down on the branch, these tough tissues flatten safely around the sharp spikes, preventing any puncture wounds to the delicate mucosa. With a slow, lateral grinding motion of the powerful jaw, the spiky mass is crushed harmlessly. The tough vegetation is prepared for swallowing without ever breaking the inner skin, allowing the young traveler to harvest vital nourishment from a landscape that seems entirely hostile to life. Within the dark, shadowed vault of the mouth, another line of defense waits to receive the crushed foliage. Strong, peg-like teeth meet in a powerful bite, engineered to shear through woody stems that would splinter ordinary bone. As the juvenile continues its steady chewing, the anatomy of digestion goes to work in near silence. The thick, rubbery lining of the palate ensures that no stray spine can find purchase in soft tissue, neutralizing every hazard through sheer resilience. This remarkable adaptation bypasses the plant's final physical barrier. Acacia thorns, evolved over millennia to deter hungry herbivores, slide harmlessly along the keratinized walls of the oral cavity. They are gently redirected toward the throat by the backward-pointing papillae, which act as a one-way conveyor belt for roughage. Saliva rich in specialized proteins coats the fibrous mass, beginning the breakdown of dry cellulose before the food even reaches the multi-chambered stomach. Every deliberate shift of the jaw operates with quiet efficiency. There is no rush, no sign of struggle, only a fluid harmony between animal and environment. By utilizing these harsh, defensive plants under the cover of night, the young camel secures vital minerals and moisture without competing with day-active grazers. The process is a masterpiece of evolutionary design, turning the desert's most hostile defenses into a nourishing meal under the vast, quiet expanse of the starlit sky. The feeding slows, replaced by a deep, communal stillness. Across the saline flats, the scattered silhouettes of the herd settle into gentle repose against the cool earth. Soft sand shifts slightly as the growing juvenile folds its long limbs beneath its weight, tucking its muzzle inward as a quiet transition takes hold. The time for foraging yields to the essential, measured work of rumination, the slow processing of the night's fibrous harvest under a vast canopy of brilliant stars. Deep within the animal's specialized multi-chambered stomach, microbial fermentation begins its silent, steady labor. The tough, woody stems and acacia leaves, safely subdued by the mouth's armored lining, are regurgitated as cud. One deliberate, rhythmic cycle follows another. The young camel moves its lower jaw in a wide, circular motion, grinding the cud with patient regularity. This continuous chewing breaks down the stubborn plant cell walls even further, extracting every last molecule of elusive nutrients and precious hydration from the desert scrub. In the still, pre-dawn air, the ambient sounds of the ecosystem soften. Distant night insects hum a low, steady lullaby across the open flats, and the cool midnight wind brushes gently over the resting herd. There is a profound metabolic efficiency at play here. By resting and ruminating during the coolest hours of the night, the juvenile conserves vital energy and minimizes internal heat production. Nothing is wasted in this landscape of extremes. As the slow rhythm of chewing echoes softly in the darkness, the young camel lets its heavy eyelids drift half-closed, perfectly attuned to the peaceful, nocturnal pulse of the desert. High above the silent expanse, the brilliant constellations begin to soften, their sharp starlight gradually yielding to a slow, silvery diffusion in the east. A cool, pale hue edges the horizon, marking the invisible boundary between the profound quiet of night and the approaching dawn. The desert air remains still and chilled, offering one final, restorative breath before the radiant sun reasserts its dominion over the saline flats. Within the resting herd, the rhythmic, circular motion of rumination slows to a peaceful halt. The young camel swallows the final cud, its internal fermentation chambers having already extracted maximum energy and hydration from the night's fibrous harvest. With a gentle sigh that stirs the fine sand, the growing juvenile lets its head rest lower against the cooling earth. Its heavy eyelids close completely now, sealing out the emerging light. Across the landscape, distant night insects quiet their steady hum, fading into the stillness of early morning. The cool wind softens, replaced by the hushed expectancy of a new day. In this tranquil interval, the metabolic fires of the juvenile burn at their lowest, most efficient resting rate, preserving precious internal moisture against the coming heat. Protected by its deep physiological adaptations and lulled by the vast, quiet space, the young camel rests deeply, wrapped in the cool, lingering shadows of the retreating desert night. The desert dawn arrives not with a brilliant blaze, but as a soft, hazy amber diffusing through a suspended curtain of fine mineral dust. In this quiet twilight of early morning, millions of microscopic motes drift lazily on the motionless air, catching the very first rays of a sun that promises an immense burden of midsummer heat. Out across the wide, ancient basin, the sand retains a lingering whisper of nocturnal chill, though it will soon surrender to the thermal tide. Here, nestled within the calm periphery of the resting herd, the growing juvenile camel settles deep into the cooling earth. With a slow, fluid grace, it tucks its long, slender limbs beneath its frame, arranging its weight into a posture of profound, restorative relaxation. The atmosphere holds a profound, heavy stillness, broken only by the soft, ambient sound of shifting sand grains settling against one another under the weight of passing time. A gentle morning breeze brushes across the arid flats, carrying a faint, dry murmur and stirring the golden dust motes in slow, hypnotic loops. There is no urgency in this vast, sun-bleached landscape. As the young camel lets out a low, rumbling breath, its chest rises and falls in a rhythm perfectly synchronized with the slow, deliberate pulse of the desert. The herd around it remains utterly stationary, an assembly of magnificent silhouettes conserving precious metabolic energy before the crucible of noon. In the hazy, golden light, the juvenile rests in total harmony with the quiet, enduring heartbeat of summer. Immobility becomes the most sophisticated survival strategy known to the arid realm as the sun begins its relentless climb. For the growing juvenile, every subtle movement carries a metabolic cost, a microscopic expenditure of precious hydration that the summer desert simply cannot afford to squander. By remaining completely, perfectly still, the young camel steps outside the frantic demands of physical exertion. Muscles relax into a state of profound quiescence, shutting down the unnecessary microcontractions that generate internal heat. This deliberate pause drops the animal's overall metabolic output, slowing the frantic engine of growth into a peaceful, idling hum. With every breath held shallow and slow, the rate of respiration decreases dramatically. In a land where moisture is more precious than gold, minimizing respiratory airflow guards against the invisible loss of water vapor escaping through the lungs. The soft, faint heat haze whine of rising thermal currents begins to shimmer along the distant horizon. But within the protected sanctuary of the resting posture, the juvenile remains undisturbed. Every biological system pivots toward conservation. The stillness acts as an invisible shield, anchoring the young camel in a state of suspended motion where time seems to slow down. Surrounded by the vast, quiet expanse of the basin, it embraces the art of doing nothing at all, perfectly balanced in the stillness of the summer morning. As the hazy dawn light filters through suspended desert dust motes, an even more remarkable internal transformation begins to unfold beneath the juvenile's thick, insulating coat. Most mammals expend precious fluid resources the moment ambient temperatures climb, activating sweat glands to force a constant, costly evaporative cooling process. But the young camel operates under an entirely different, highly sophisticated physiological blueprint known as adaptive heterothermy. Rather than fighting the encroaching heat with wasteful moisture loss, the growing body permits its core temperature to rise safely alongside the warming air. The internal thermostat shifts upward by several degrees, gracefully narrowing the thermal gradient between the camel and the surrounding environment. By allowing this controlled, floating rise in internal warmth, the animal avoids the urgent need to sweat. The brain and vital organs remain entirely protected, shielded by intricate vascular networks and a magnificent biological tolerance that transforms potential heat stress into a masterclass of metabolic regulation. Outside, a gentle wind whispers across the basin, lifting microscopic shifting sand grains that drift softly across the flats. A low, rumbling breath escapes the resting juvenile, carrying a cadence as steady and hypnotic as the distant silence of the dunes. There is no shiver, no sudden twitch, and no panic within this rising warmth. The young camel simply absorbs the day's early energy, banking hydration within its tissues like liquid gold. Every drop remains safely locked inside, preserved through an elegant harmony of design that allows the growing body to drift quietly, comfortably, and securely through the expanding heat of the summer morning. High upon the juvenile's shoulders, attention shifts toward a modest yet steadily developing silhouette, a single dorsal hump, shaped by nature as a masterpiece of evolutionary architecture. Far from being a simple fluid sac as ancient folklore once suggested, this rising crest is composed primarily of dense adipose tissue, an intricate biological battery taking form as the young camel matures into its desert home. During these abundant summer months, when sparse forage yields rich, calorie-dense nutrients, the body channels excess energy directly upward. Specialized fat cells begin to multiply and expand within the connective matrix of the hump, packing concentrated parcels of lipids away for the lean, arid months yet to come. Because fat stores are centralized in one specific region rather than distributed evenly beneath the skin, the rest of the body remains free to release unwanted internal heat efficiently through the flanks, preventing dangerous thermal traps. As the morning sun climbs higher, casting a faint, shimmering heat haze whine across the horizon, the growing hump rests comfortably against the gentle wind. Inside these microscopic chambers of stored energy, chemical bonds knit tightly together, transforming sun-ripened desert grasses into quiet, enduring resilience. The young camel feels only a reassuring weight, a soft fullness upon its back that promises survival and strength. Secured by this developing reserve, the resting animal exhales a slow, contented breath, perfectly sustained by the quiet brilliance of its own biology. Surrounding the juvenile, The rest of the herd shares in this profound midday quiet. Adult camels rest in close proximity across the sun-bleached basin, their massive forms folded neatly into the cooling sand. This communal stillness is more than mere rest. It is an active strategy of collective thermal conservation. By gathering close, the herd creates a localized microclimate, slightly reducing the direct radiative burden of the earth while maintaining a profound, unbroken peace. A soft, low rumbling breath passes between the older matriarchs, vibrating gently through the quiet air. These deep vocalizations, accompanied by the occasional soft gurgle of rumination, blend into a soothing auditory landscape of shared endurance. There is no urgency here, no wasted motion in the heavy, hazy light. Every member of the herd has surrendered to the rhythm of the midday heat, allowing their metabolisms to slow in unison. Shifting sand grains whisper softly as an adult readjusts its limbs, seeking a cooler layer of earth beneath the surface. The juvenile listens to these familiar sounds, comforted by the steady presence of the family group. In this vast, unforgiving expanse, survival is a cooperative art form written in patience and stillness. As the faint heat haze wine shimmers at the periphery of vision, the herd remains a picture of absolute tranquility. They rest as one, perfectly attuned to the slow, heavy pulse of the summer desert, anchored by the quiet strength that flows through the generations. As the hazy dawn slowly surrenders to the vast expanse of the scorching day, the juvenile remains deeply at peace. The shimmering horizon stretches endlessly beneath a pale, copper sky. Yet within this immense heat, a subtle promise of change lingers on the edge of awareness. Nature moves in grand, sweeping circles, and though the full weight of summer still presses down upon the dunes, the earth is patient. In the quiet stillness, the gentle wind shifts ever so slightly, carrying a whisper of cooler altitudes far beyond the basin. It is a fleeting touch, barely perceptible against the thick, warm air, yet it hints at the eventual turn of the seasons. Months from now, these blistering thermal windows will soften into the crisp, refreshing breezes of autumn, transforming the golden landscape once more. For now, the young camel rests securely in this timeless interlude. Its breathing remains slow and steady, matching the tranquil pulse of the desert around it. The early lipid reserves cradled within its growing dorsal hump are secure, serving as a quiet testament to a body successfully tuned to the rhythms of the earth. Energy is conserved, life is sustained, and every quiet breath draws the juvenile deeper into a restorative slumber. The herd stays motionless beneath the mounting sun, held in a delicate balance of endurance and grace. There is nothing to fear in the heat, for adaptation has woven a profound safety into their very bones. Surrounded by family, enveloped in the soft, muffled sounds of shifting sand and distant silence, the young traveler drifts further into peace. The desert holds them all in a tender, timeless embrace, resting quietly as the long summer slowly turns its face toward tomorrow. The heavy, stifling weight of summer finally begins to dissolve across the arid plains. For months, the desert air radiated an oppressive stillness, trapping heat close to the sandy earth. But now, as the season turns, a profound meteorological shift stirs the landscape. Refreshing autumn breezes sweep unhindered across the undulating dunes, carrying the crisp, earthy scent of sun-baked dust and dry vegetation. High above, the low-angled sun casts long, amber shadows that stretch leisurely across the basin. The drop in ambient temperature triggers an immediate physiological response within the local wildlife. Thermoregulation becomes effortless. The subadult camel no longer needs to expend metabolic energy panting or seeking deep shade to cope with extreme thermal stress. Instead, a renewed vitality settles into its large, sturdy frame, Standing atop a low ridge of windswept sand, the young camel lifts its head high. Its long eyelashes flutter against the gentle gusts, and its sensitive nostrils flare, sampling the shifting currents of air. This atmospheric transition signals a vital biological cue, a priming of the system for the cooler months ahead. The dense summer coat, once sleek and thin, is already beginning to thicken at the neck and shoulders, preparing the animal's metabolism for the milder days and chilly nights of autumn. With each breath of the cool, invigorating wind, the tension of the scorching months melts away, leaving behind a profound, soothing stillness that echoes across the quiet, golden expanse. Released from the thermal constraints of the hotter months, the subadult camel feels a natural inclination to roam. With milder temperatures allowing for superior energy conservation, its daily wandering expands far beyond the familiar perimeter of the core family group. Guided by ancient, innate nomadic instincts, the young animal steps away from the resting herd and ventures deeper into adjacent valleys and low, wind-carved ridges. Every stride across the widening terrain reflects a growing physiological maturity. The camel's long, two-toed feet, cushioned by broad, leathery pads, spread naturally with each step, distributing its weight evenly over the shifting, sandy earth. This specialized locomotion prevents sinking, allowing the subadult to traverse uneven, gravelly ground with effortless grace. Distant herd rumbles echo softly from behind, yet the pull of new horizons proves more compelling. As it crests a gentle slope, the landscape opens into uncharted territory. The crisp air carries the faint, dry rustle of golden grasses swaying in the breeze. Without the urgent need to monitor internal body temperature, metabolic resources are entirely redirected toward exploration and physical conditioning. The subadult pauses, its long neck turning slowly to survey the silent basin below, drinking in the vast, untamed expanse. Each independent journey lays the foundation for future survival, strengthening the young camel's navigational awareness and cementing its place within a shifting, resilient ecosystem. Down in the shelter of a wide, sandy basin, the afternoon air stirs with the playful energy of youth. Released from the exhausting demands of summer heat regulation, the young camel's metabolic energy is now freely channeled into social bonding and physical recreation. A trio of subadult peers has gathered near a cluster of weathered acacia trees, their long legs moving with a newfound, effortless coordination as they approach one another. Low, resonant gurgles ripple through the quiet air, gentle vocalizations used to signal peaceful intent and invite interaction. Standing shoulder to shoulder, the young camels begin a mild, harmless session of social sparring. They press their long necks together, testing each other's weight and leverage in a slow-motion dance of balance and restraint. These playful tussles are far more than mere amusement. They are essential neurological and muscular exercises that teach the subtleties of herd hierarchy. Through the soft shifting of weight, the angle of an ear, and the positioning of a lowered chin, they establish mutual understanding without aggression. Every nudge and intertwined neck helps refine their motor skills, preparing them for the more complex social structures of adulthood. A subtle breeze whistles softly through the surrounding dunes, carrying the earthy scent of dry vegetation and the comforting, low rumbles of the resting herd in the distance. The young camels pause their sparring, standing side by side under the vast, golden sky. Their breathing remains calm and steady, returning quickly to a tranquil rhythm as the golden sun dips lower, painting the desert in long, peaceful shadows. With the playfulness settling into a quiet stillness, attention shifts toward the essential rhythms of sustenance. Under the mild, cooling sky, foraging becomes a more active and expansive endeavor. The subadult camel ventures slightly apart from its peers, drawn toward a patch of resilient shrubs and golden, sun-cured grasses that have weathered the summer months. In this arid ecosystem, plant survival depends on tough defenses, Yet the camel is uniquely engineered to meet this challenge. It reaches toward a low-lying, thorny bush, its flexible, split upper lip parting seamlessly to select the most nutritious autumn foliage. This specialized anatomy allows the animal to navigate sharp spikes with remarkable precision, isolating tender leaves and dry stems. Inside the mouth, thick, keratinized papillae, conical, horn-like projections lining the inner cheeks and palate, provide a durable shield against puncture wounds. These hardened tissues safely crush coarse, fibrous twigs and abrasive desert vegetation that would deter most other herbivores. Meticulously, the subadult grinds the dry grasses with a broad, sideways sweep of its lower jaw, extracting vital moisture and metabolic energy from seemingly barren fare. Each deliberate bite contributes to the slow accumulation of vital fat reserves, an internal preparation for the colder months ahead. The soft footfalls of the camel brushing against the terrain mingle with the gentle rustling of dry grasses in the breeze. Surrounded by the vast, quiet expanse of the desert, the young animal feeds at a slow, measured pace, finding profound contentment in the simple, rhythmic abundance of the autumn landscape. With a belly gently satisfied by coarse autumn forage, the subadult lifts its head and turns toward the open expanses of the gravel plains. The cool afternoon breeze invites movement, and the young animal shifts effortlessly into its signature biomechanical stride. Unlike most large quadrupeds, the camel utilizes a pacing gait, moving both legs on the same side of its body in unison. This rhythmic side-to-side motion creates a distinctive rocking sway, perfectly adapted for energy conservation across shifting sands and uneven terrain. As the camel travels, its wide, two-toed feet demonstrate a remarkable engineering design. Each foot features a broad, leathery pad that spreads wide under the animal's weight, preventing it from sinking into loose sand. The two distinct toes are joined below by a resilient cushion of elastic connective tissue, absorbing the impact of every step with silent grace. There is no heavy jarring, only a smooth, pendulum-like momentum carrying the body forward with minimal muscular effort. The subadult navigates a transition from fine dunes to a firmer gravel pavement, adjusting its stride length intuitively. This efficient locomotion keeps metabolic heat production low, an essential physiological regulation that prevents unnecessary sweating in a climate where every drop of moisture is precious. The soft footfalls blend harmoniously with the whispering autumn wind, creating a soothing cadence that echoes across the vast desert floor. Moving with steady, unhurried grace, the young camel covers vast distances smoothly, at peace within the quiet rhythm of the changing season. As the long afternoon shadows stretch across the valley, a subtle shift murmurs through the desert air. The golden autumn sun begins its slow descent, painting the sweeping dunes in washes of amber and rose. Across the plains, the distant, low-frequency rumbles of the herd begin to echo, carrying through the cooling breeze to signal a natural gathering time. Drawn by these familiar social bonds, the subadult eases its pace and turns back toward the core family group. One by one, the scattered members converge upon a sheltered basin cradled between low, rolling hills. Here, the biting edge of the evening wind is softened by the rising terrain, leaving only a gentle, rustling breath that whispers through the dry grasses. With deliberate, unhurried movements, the young camel approaches the resting cluster. It lowers its heavy frame in a sequence of fluid, joint-bending steps, first folding its forelimbs, then settling its hindquarters onto the cool, receptive earth. Tucking its long legs neatly beneath its warm body, the animal assumes a secure, sternal recumbency. This posture minimizes its exposed surface area, helping to conserve the precious thermal energy accumulated during the day as ambient temperatures drop toward the nocturnal chill. resting its chin peacefully upon the sand. The subadult exhales a long, slow sigh. Its eyelids grow heavy, matching the tranquil stillness settling over the entire ecosystem. In the fading twilight, surrounded by the quiet breathing of the herd, the young camel drifts into a state of deep, restorative calm under the emerging stars. As the autumn sun sinks toward the western horizon, the endless expanse of sand transforms into a sea of deep, liquid amber. The fierce heat of the day dissolves into the cooling embrace of twilight, stirring a gentle breeze that ripples softly across the crests of the dunes. Farther along the ridge, the distant, rumbling murmurs of the herd echo through the deepening quiet, signaling the transition from daytime rest to the evening's nomadic march. Rising gracefully from the cooling sand, the subadult camel stretches its long limbs and prepares to join the procession. At this vital life stage, the young dromedary is rapidly mastering the ancient rhythms of desert survival. The anatomy of the desert dweller is a marvel of evolutionary adaptation, perfectly tuned to the quiet demands of migration. As the subadult takes its first deliberate steps, the mechanics of movement become immediately apparent. Unlike horses or cattle, which move diagonal legs in opposition, the camel utilizes a lateral pacing gait. Both the front and hind leg on the exact same side move forward in unison. This specialized locomotion creates a steady, soothing sway, a rhythmic rocking motion that effortlessly carries the heavy frame forward while conserving precious metabolic energy across the vast, undulating terrain. With each soft footfall, the loose grains of amber sand shift and settle, whispering quietly in the cooling air. The autumn evening deepens, casting long, peaceful shadows over the desert as the young camel aligns its steady pace with the gentle, rhythmic momentum of the moving herd. Watch closely as the young dromedary settles into this specialized locomotion, a striking departure from the traditional trot of most four-legged mammals. Instead of lifting a diagonal pair of limbs, the subadult swings both limbs on the right side forward together, followed immediately by both on the left. This lateral sequence generates a graceful, pendulum-like roll of the shoulders and hips. It is an evolutionary masterpiece of biomechanics designed to minimize lateral instability and reduce the muscular effort required to keep the body balanced. As the body rolls gently from side to side, the center of gravity remains remarkably stable along the line of travel. This fluid pacing gait prevents the internal organs from jarring against the ribcage, significantly lowering metabolic expenditure during extended journeys. For a subadult navigating the vast autumn landscape, mastering this conservation of energy is essential for survival. The rhythmic shifting of weight distributes the heavy frame across the skeletal structure with incredible efficiency, turning what could be an exhausting trudge into a continuous, rolling glide. Every muscle relaxes into the cadence. The swaying motion lulls the senses, harmonizing with the soft, descending twilight and the steady sigh of cooling desert winds whispering across the crests of the dunes. Beyond the physics of the stride itself lies a profound physiological economy. In the vast, resource-scarce expanse of the desert, every calorie is a precious commodity. By committing entirely to this lateral pacing gait, the young dromedary bypasses the constant stop-and-start micro-corrections demanded of other quadrupeds. The muscles do not fight against rotational torque. Instead, they work in harmonious, alternating phases that require minimal active contraction. The skeletal frame virtually carries itself, supported by taut tendons that act like elastic springs, storing and releasing kinetic energy with every single step. This remarkable structural efficiency extends deep into the core. Because the animal's mass moves forward in a continuous, unhurried line, internal energy expenditure drops significantly. Heat generation is kept low, which is a vital adaptation during any seasonal transition where days remain warm even as evening approaches. The subadult's steady pace ensures that internal metabolic fires burn slowly and evenly, preventing overheating and preserving precious hydration reserves. Up ahead, the older matriarch maintains the exact same measured tempo, casting a long, elegant shadow across the darkening sand. The subadult locks into her rhythm, falling into a deeply meditative state of movement. Step by gentle step, the distance melts away underfoot without strain or haste. The cooling air carries only the muted rustle of shifting grains and the soft, rhythmic exhalations of the traveling herd, blending together into a quiet lullaby of endurance and ancient grace. Down where the long limbs meet the shifting earth, a quiet marvel of natural engineering unfolds with every downward press. The camera drifts low, tracking the subadult's footfalls as they make contact with the deep, amber slope. Unlike the hard, striking hooves of other desert dwellers, the dromedary is uniquely equipped with two-toed feet resting upon broad, undivided leathery pads. As the weight settles over the limb, these thick, elastic cushions spread outward. They act much like natural snowshoes, expanding across the loose surface to distribute the subadult's substantial body mass evenly. Instead of plunging into the fine grains and wasting precious muscular energy on extraction, the foot finds a secure, buoyant platform. The loose sand simply yields and compresses temporarily beneath the pad, absorbing the impact rather than resisting it. This anatomical adaptation eliminates the usual friction of travel. There is no disruptive scraping or slipping. Each footfall remains entirely silent, leaving only a soft, shallow impression that the evening breeze quickly smooths away. Inside the pad, a specialized thick wedge of resilient fat cushions the bones against the abrasive heat and sharp mineral stones hidden beneath the dunes. With every continuous cycle of the lateral gait, the foot lifts cleanly and effortlessly from the yielding basin, flexing inward as it recovers for the next advance. Watching the mechanics of this descent brings a profound sense of tranquil order. The desert floor, though treacherous and shifting to the uninitiated, becomes a reliable highway. Supported by these remarkable pillars of skin and gristle, the young camel moves forward in absolute harmony with the ground beneath, feeling only the gentle, yielding pressure of the earth settling into the quiet dusk. Ahead, along the winding crest, the mature matriarch leads the family line with an unhurried, measured cadence. The subadult watches her steady silhouette against the lavender sky, adjusting its own stride to match the familiar swaying tempo of the herd. Social cohesion across the open desert relies upon this silent, shared rhythm. By falling into step directly behind the experienced adults, the younger camel optimizes its travel, slipping effortlessly into the slipstream of collective momentum. Every member of the lineage moves as a single, extended organism, maintaining a disciplined single-file procession that snakes across the rolling ridges. When the leading adult dips slightly into a trough, the subadult mirrors the motion precisely, keeping a comfortable, reassuring distance from the flank of its nearest relative. This synchronized wandering does more than just conserve energy. It reinforces deep-rooted familial bonds forged over countless seasonal migrations. The low murmur of deep throat rumbles occasionally passes down the line, a comforting acoustic reassurance that keeps the group tethered together in the gathering dusk. As the cooling air rustles through the sparse shrubs dotting the dune bases, the subadult finds a profound sense of security within this coordinated movement. There is no frantic rushing, no hesitation, only the collective breathing of the herd and the synchronized swing of long limbs carrying them onward toward the night's resting place. Gradually, the long procession yields to the deepening violet of twilight. The mature matriarch eases her pace, bringing her forward stride to a gentle, deliberate halt near the floor of a wide, sheltered basin. One by one, the family line cascades to a stop, folding long limbs inward with soft sighs that vanish into the cooling air. The subadult follows suit, lowering its heavy frame onto the forgiving sand with a slow, measured grace. Its broad, padded feet tuck neatly beneath the warm bulk of its body, shielding sensitive joints from the rapidly dropping temperature of the autumn earth. A profound hush settles over the landscape, broken only by the faint, rhythmic sound of settling sand and the gentle rustle of a cooling breeze passing through distant acacia thorns. Here, in the amber embrace of the evening, the high-energy demands of nomadic travel give way to deep metabolic conservation. As darkness drapes over the endless waves of dunes, the camel's heart rate slows, and its internal physiology begins the quiet work of autumn recovery. The day's accumulated warmth radiates slowly outward, buffering the chill of the desert night. Surrounded by the quiet, steady breathing of the resting herd, the subadult rests its head low upon the dune, wrapped in the profound stillness of the sleeping wilderness. The desert sun dips far below the horizon, leaving behind a sky of deep indigo and a canopy of silent, unblinking stars. Across the expansive dunes, the gentle wind shifts, carrying the unmistakable, crisp bite of late autumn. This seasonal transition is registered instantly by the sub-adult camel, whose sensory receptors detect the rapid drop in ambient temperature as the residual heat of the day releases into the vast upper atmosphere. Underneath this quiet, starlit sky, the cooling sand begins to firm, rustling softly with every whisper of the nocturnal breeze. The atmosphere settles into a profound, soothing stillness, broken only by the low, resonant rumble of the herd and the distant, haunting call of an owl hunting among the sparse scrub. At this stage in its life, the sub-adult is undergoing remarkable physiological adjustments. Its endocrine system, finely attuned to the shortening daylight hours, signals the hypothalamus to alter hormonal output, triggering the intricate biological machinery required for winter survival. Deep within the dermis, specialized hair follicles begin their quiet, gradual activation, preparing to sprout a dense, insulating undercoat beneath the lighter, coarser hairs of summer. For now, the young camel stands near the center of the family group, feeling the cool air brush against its skin. Soft, steady breathing fills the quiet night air as the herd gently settles into a close-knit resting formation, conserving precious energy and warmth against the advancing chill of the desert night. Deep beneath the surface of the skin, a microscopic symphony of biology unfolds. As the hours of daylight wane, the pineal gland notes the shifting photoperiod, subtly adjusting melatonin production. This hormonal messenger acts as an internal calendar, signaling the dermal layers that the warm days of summer are fading into memory. Responding to these chemical cues, the resting phase of the hair cycle concludes. Stem cells nestled within the bulge of the hair follicles awaken, dividing rapidly to produce specialized cells that will form a completely new layer of insulation. Beneath the coarser, sun-bleached guard hairs of the outer coat, a secondary population of follicles begins generating an extraordinarily dense, fine undercoat. Each new strand of wool is engineered for thermal efficiency. The fibers possess a crimped architecture, allowing them to trap countless microscopic pockets of still air against the skin. This trapped air forms a formidable thermal barrier, preventing the camel's core body heat from escaping into the chilly nocturnal atmosphere. Unlike the sleek summer coat, which reflects solar radiation and allows heat to dissipate, this emerging winter fleece is designed to capture warmth and resist the biting winds of the changing season. Cellular nourishment increases as microscopic blood vessels dilate, delivering a rich supply of oxygen and nutrients to the rapidly growing roots. Bit by bit, strand by microscopic strand, the dense underlayer thickens in silent coordination with the cooling environment. The young camel remains entirely at rest, unaware of the intricate physiological engineering taking place beneath its skin. yet already feeling the subtle, reassuring comfort of its growing winter armor. Between the longer, coarser guard hairs and the warm skin below lies a complex architectural marvel. Under magnification, the newly sprouted fibers of the winter coat reveal a microscopic landscape of curls, bends, and interlocking scales. This unique crimped structure prevents the individual hairs from packing down tightly, ensuring that thousands of tiny air pockets remain suspended throughout the fleece. Air is a remarkably poor conductor of heat. By trapping this boundary layer of stagnant air directly against the body, the subadult's developing fleece creates an exceptionally efficient thermal vacuum. When a gentle breeze sweeps across the nocturnal dunes, slipping harmlessly over the outer canopy of guard hairs, the trapped inner air remains undisturbed. The subadult's core warmth is safely locked within, shielded from the biting chill of the desert night. This dual-layered defense system provides unmatched versatility. The stout outer guard hairs act as a durable windbreak and shed any unexpected autumn moisture, while the plush underlayer focuses entirely on heat retention. Together, they form a dense, resilient thatch that grows thicker with each passing night. As the young camel breathes in a slow, steady rhythm, the warmth of its exhalation drifts upward, grazing the newly insulated flanks. The skin beneath rests in comfortable thermal equilibrium, oblivious to the dropping temperatures of the open desert. Protected by this living blanket of air and fiber, the subadult settles deeper into sleep, its body gracefully engineered to endure the approaching winter's frost. As the midnight hour deepens, the desert air grows crisper, prompting the camel herd to draw closer together in a protective communal formation. The subadult navigates quietly between the slumbering bulk of older herd members, seeking the sheltered center where body heat radiates outward. Soft, low rumbles vibrate through the sand, gentle guttural communications that ripple through the resting family group, reinforcing social bonds and signaling safety in the quiet dark. Slowly, the young camel lowers its long, slender limbs, folding them neatly beneath its massive frame in the traditional resting posture of its kind. The cooling sand shifts beneath its weight, conforming to the contours of brisket and knee. Resting close to the earth, the subadult tucks its head inward, minimizing exposed surface area as a faint, cooling breeze brushes over the dune ridge. Around them, the ecosystem sleeps under a vast canopy of quiet stars, punctuated only by the distant, haunting call of an owl drifting across the expanse. The subadult's breathing settles into a deep, rhythmic cadence, matching the slow, steady inhalations of the matriarch resting just paces away. Within this tight-knit nocturnal cluster, metabolic conservation is a shared endeavor. The collective warmth of the herd creates a microclimate above the frosted dunes, buffering every member against the descending temperature. Safely anchored within the social hierarchy and swathed in its burgeoning winter fleece, the young camel drifts deeper into rest. Every quiet exhalation merges into the still night air, a testament to nature's profound design, perfectly attuned to the shifting seasons. Beneath the quiet surface of sleep, a silent, profound transformation unfolds within the subadult's resting frame. As the desert thermometer plummets toward its nocturnal low, internal physiological mechanisms shift into a specialized mode of cold season preservation. This is not a sudden metabolic surge, but rather a slow, measured recalibration of energy management, orchestrated by subtle hormonal cues tied to the shortening autumn days. Deep within the animal's core, specialized adipose tissue, particularly the dense fat stored securely within the rising hump, begins to process energy with remarkable efficiency. Rather than burning calories rapidly to generate immediate heat, the subadult's cellular machinery engages in targeted lipid oxidation, releasing thermal energy slowly and steadily over the course of the long night. This biochemical economy ensures that vital internal organs remain protected against the chill without depleting the vital energy reserves required for the months ahead. Circulation adjusts in tandem with these metabolic shifts. Tiny muscular walls within the peripheral blood vessels gently constrict, dialing back the flow of warm blood to the outermost skin layers and extremities. This physiological cleverness prioritizes the core, shielding the heart, lungs, and developing muscle tissue from the biting frost creeping over the dunes. Meanwhile, the new, densely packed winter fleece acts as a secondary shield, trapping a stagnant layer of air warmed by the body's residual heat. In this state of profound biological harmony, the young camel rests effortlessly. Every breath is measured and tranquil, sustaining a delicate balance between internal warmth and external stillness, perfectly designed to weather the chill of the shifting season. High above the resting herd, the deep indigo of the nocturnal sky begins to soften, yielding to a pale, translucent violet at the eastern horizon. A very gentle wind whispers across the cooling dunes, carrying the crisp scent of approaching dawn and sliding smoothly over the subadult's newly transformed winter coat. The dense, shaggy fleece, woven from months of microscopic follicle activation, now stands fully primed, a thick, insulating tapestry of coarse guard hairs and ultra-fine underwool designed to weather the impending frost. As the first pre-dawn light washes across the desert landscape, it illuminates the subtle, majestic silhouette of the young camel. Its once patchy summer coat is entirely forgotten, replaced by a uniform cloak of deep, earthy brown that absorbs the weak morning rays. Within this silent hour, the physiological adjustments of the night begin to gently reverse. Peripheral blood vessels slowly relax, welcoming a renewed, steady circulation back to the extremities, while the cellular metabolism recalibrates from nocturnal conservation to daytime readiness. A low, resonant rumble travels softly through the sand as the matriarch stirs, signaling the awakening of the close-knit herd. With measured grace, the subadult unfolds its long limbs, rising from the cool earth into the quiet morning air. The heavy coat shifts easily over its broad shoulders, completely adjusted to its new form, ready to protect against the descending seasonal chill. One by one, the camels align their silhouettes against the pale sky, anticipating the steady journey ahead across the vast, timeless expanse of the awakening desert. The night air across the high, stony red desert is still and profoundly cold. Under a canopy of fading stars, autumn has settled heavily into the landscape, chilling the earth and rustling the dry, distant scrub. In the deep shadows of an ancient plateau, a small herd of camels rests in silent silhouette. Among them is a subadult, its body changing as a thickening winter coat begins to trap warmth against the dropping temperature. A crisp autumn wind sweeps softly across the flat, polished stones, carrying a faint, hollow echo of distant mountain ranges. Without a sound, the lead matriarch stirs, folding her long legs beneath her and rising with a smooth, swaying motion. The movement ripples through the resting group. Beside a low outcrop of weathered granite, the young camel awakens. It blinks slowly against the chill, gathers its limbs beneath its frame, and pushes upward in one fluid, unhurried motion. Standing tall on the gravelly earth, it stretches its neck forward, testing the bracing air and feeling the quiet readiness settle into its growing muscles. There is no rush in this high, stony expanse. The landscape is vast and demanding, a mosaic of dark gravel and ancient rock surfaces waiting in the pre-dawn gloom. As the mature camels begin to align themselves into a single, purposeful file, the subadult steps into place behind them. Its joints are supple, built for the endurance required by miles of barren terrain. With every gentle breath forming a faint wisp of mist in the cold air, the young camel prepares for the long trek ahead. its body finely tuned by evolution for the ancient stone pathways of the desert. As the herd advances onto a firmer expanse of polished stone, the mechanics of the young camel's lower limbs reveal a masterclass in evolutionary engineering. Unlike traditional hoofed mammals whose hard, rigid nails might slip on slick stone or shatter against sharp, hidden flint, the dromedary relies on an entirely different podiatric design. Each foot terminates in two broad toes, encased in resilient, nail-like outer claws that serve primarily for balance rather than impact. Beneath these digits lies the true marvel of desert locomotion, a broad, thick, fiber-fatty cushion. As the subadult shifts its weight forward, this specialized heel pad compresses beneath the pressure, spreading outward to flatten against the uneven terrain. This widening action increases the surface area significantly, transforming what could be a jarring, unstable stride into a remarkably secure and cushioned placement. The dense fatty tissue acts as a natural shock absorber, isolating the delicate bones of the lower leg from the repetitive, concussive forces of the hard reg. Tendons and ligaments work in quiet harmony, drawing the foot back up with effortless elasticity as the leg swings forward into the next pacing stride. There is no hesitation in the rhythm. Each footfall lands with a dull, muffled thud, absorbing the chill of the stones while maintaining a firm, unyielding grip. The architecture of the limb protects the joints from wear, ensuring that even across miles of abrasive bedrock, the young camel moves with a fluid, effortless grace that turns the unforgiving terrain into a path of quiet, steady momentum. Within the traveling file, the subadult finds its place just behind the matriarch, slipping effortlessly into the hypnotic cadence of the march. Here, upon the scattered gravel of the plateau, the herd shifts into a specialized traveling style. Instead of the diagonal trot common to many large mammals, the camel employs a true pacing gait, lifting both legs on the exact same side of its body in smooth, synchronized unison. This lateral movement creates a distinctive, swaying motion, a gentle rocking that propels the large body forward with remarkable economy of effort. By swinging the left forelimb and left hind limb together, followed immediately by the right pair, the subadult minimizes lateral body roll and conserves precious energy in the thin, cool air of the pre-dawn. The audio landscape of the journey changes gently beneath these padded soles. Gone is the sharp, ringing clatter of hard hooves striking flint. Instead, the reg responds with a softer symphony, a low, continuous scuff of gravel in the muted, rolling crunch of small stones sliding softly away from the widening cushions. It is a quiet, rhythmic language of travel, punctuated only by the steady matching footfalls of the herd. Matching stride for stride with the older animals, the young camel discovers a natural equilibrium. The pace is neither hurried nor hesitant, but measured and timeless. Each synchronized cycle carries them deeper across the stone expanse, turning the vast, sleeping plateau into a pathway of effortless, flowing momentum. As the journey continues across undulating stone ridges, the steady rhythm of the march brings new biomechanical challenges. Navigating tilted rock surfaces and uneven shelves of ancient stone requires more than just exceptional traction. It demands an intricate internal architecture designed to shield the body from repetitive strain. Beneath the dense autumn coat, a sophisticated system of skeletal alignment and specialized tissues works in quiet harmony to protect the subadult's developing frame. With each long stride across the unyielding reg, specialized joints absorb the kinetic energy of impact. The camel's ankles possess a remarkable flexibility, allowing the lower limbs to adjust fluidly to microtopography without transmitting harsh shocks upward through the skeleton. Long bones align vertically under the massive weight, creating pillars of support that minimize muscular fatigue over vast distances. Nature has also provided external armor for moments of rest and maneuvering. Thick, leathery calluses cap the subadult's knees and chest, tough, avascular pads designed to bear the brunt of the animal's considerable weight when kneeling or rising upon the rough stones. These specialized shock absorbers insulate the skeletal frame from the abrasive ground, ensuring that even the most arduous terrain leaves the joints completely secure and untroubled. Wrapped in the cool, pre-dawn stillness, the young camel moves with an effortless grace. Every ligament, tendon, and bone operates with calibrated precision, turning the difficult stone desert into a pathway of absolute ease. Out of the retreating indigo shadows of the pre-dawn hours, the first pale rays of sunlight begin to touch the highest crests of the polished stone plateau. A delicate wash of amber and soft rose spreads slowly across the vast, undulating expanse of the reg. The subadult camel continues its methodical march beneath the brightening sky. As the low sun angles across the desert floor, the animal's silhouette stretches long and thin, sweeping gracefully across the scattered gravel and ancient stones. Every contour of the landscape, once hidden in the uniform gray of the night, emerges into crisp, quiet clarity. The crisp autumn wind carries a gentle warmth now, whispering softly over the smooth surfaces of dark, desert-varnished boulders. In this shifting light, the stark, timeless beauty of the plateau is revealed in all its silent majesty. The ground beneath the broad, cushioned feet transitions from cold stone to a surface kissed by the earliest touch of solar heat. Yet the pace of the herd remains unchanged. It is a slow, hypnotic rhythm, unhurried and serene, with each unhurried footfall echoing lightly against the hollow stone. The young camel moves deeper into the new day. The transition from darkness to morning light brings no disruption to the tranquil journey, only a golden clarity that bathes the rugged terrain in a soft, peaceful glow. The difficult crossing of the stone expanse yields gracefully to the open horizon, wrapped in the quiet stillness of the awakening desert. Ahead, the jagged boundary of the stony plateau gently gives way to a softer, more forgiving expanse of ancient alluvial plains. The herd begins to draw together, consolidating its traveling formation into a relaxed, cohesive line as the morning air warms around them. The subadult camel steps effortlessly onto the finer, yielding soils, its specialized anatomy adapting seamlessly to the change in terrain. Those remarkable two-toed feet, which anchored it so securely upon the polished slick rock just moments before, now rest comfortably upon the level earth. The thick, fibrous heel pads, so expertly designed for shock absorption, have protected every skeletal joint from the repetitive impacts of the hard stone journey. Now fully integrated into the collective movement of the group, the young animal carries itself with a quiet, growing confidence. Its pacing matches the deep, measured cadence of the matriarch at the head of the file, demonstrating a hard-earned endurance forged across miles of unforgiving reg desert. This successful crossing of the rugged plateau is more than just a morning's transit. It is a vital physical milestone. Every stride across the stone has tested and proven the subadult's developing strength, conditioning its limbs and ligaments for the broader nomadic trails that stretch far into the deepening autumn. As the morning brightens into a tranquil, sunlit calm, the young camel moves onward, cradled by the steady rhythm of the herd in the timeless, peaceful embrace of the vast desert. The first pale rays of morning stretch across the frost-dusted basin, touching the resting forms of the camel herd in quiet stillness. As autumn yields to the sharper edge of winter, the landscape settles beneath a wide, peach-tinted sky. There is no sudden alarm, no frantic calling to signal the start of the day. Instead, a deep, collective calm governs the awakening group. In a coordinated sequence born of ancient instinct, the massive animals begin to rise. With a soft, muffled shifting of weight, long legs fold and unfold in precise stages, lifting heavy bodies from the cool earth with remarkable economy of motion. Amidst the towering silhouettes of the adults, the sub-adult camel moves with the same unhurried grace. It unfolds smoothly from its resting place, shaking a light film of desert dust from its thickening winter coat. A gentle, low guttural rumble passes through the family group, a subsonic vocalization that resonates softly in the chest, vibrating through the crisp air and reinforcing social bonds before the journey begins. Stretching its long neck toward the brightening horizon, the young camel instinctively aligns its body with the growing formation. Its dark eyes reflect the pale morning light, bright and steady, fully attuned to the rhythms of the group. As the lead adults turn their heads toward the horizon, the individual forms begin to settle into a natural, organized order. The quiet assembly of the herd dissolves seamlessly into the formation of the traveling trail, ready to cross the ancient expanse together in unhurried harmony. Out of the awakening resting grounds, a natural order begins to take shape. The herd arranges itself into a sequential procession, flowing outward like water finding its ancient channels. At the absolute forefront stands the experienced matriarch, her seasoned instincts guiding the heading as she charts a course across the hard-packed sand. Following closely behind, the other adult camels settle into a reliable single-file line. This traditional traveling formation is a masterpiece of nomadic survival, significantly reducing wind resistance for the animals trailing in the rear while preserving well-worn paths across the vast terrain. Within this measured sequence, the sub-adult takes its place near the comfortable center of the line. It maintains a precise, respectful distance from the large adult moving immediately ahead, closing or widening the gap by mere inches as the ground beneath them gently dips and rises. This instinctive spacing avoids tension, rooted deeply in herd dynamics where each animal knows its exact relational coordinates within the moving family. As they march, the soft sand crunch of heavily padded feet mingles with a subtle leather creak from shifting pack saddles. The sub-adult tilts its head slightly, keeping a steady watch on the rhythmic swaying of the flank before it. It does not need to rush or push forward. The collective momentum carries it gently along. In this quiet middle ground of the procession, the young camel feels completely secure, cradled by the steady pacing of the companions guiding its way into the pale dawn. As the morning chill softens, the procession shifts into its signature mode of travel. Here, on the open expanse, the herd adopts the specialized pacing gait, a biomechanical marvel honed by millennia of seasonal adaptation. Unlike most mammals that move their diagonal limbs in opposition, the camel utilizes a lateral sequence, lifting both the front and hind legs on the same side of its body simultaneously. This rhythmic, two-beat motion propels the sub-adult forward with a smooth, rolling momentum. As the left side moves in unison, followed seamlessly by the right, the animal's massive frame glides across the hard-packed sand without the exhausting side-to-side roll typical of other quadrupedal walkers. This unique locomotion dramatically minimizes lateral sway, conserving precious metabolic energy across the countless miles of the migration trail. Every stride is calculated for maximum energy conservation. The sub-adult's long, slender limbs swing like pendulums, making the most of gravity and forward momentum. Specialized footpads, wide, leathery, and deeply cushioned, compress softly against the earth with each synchronized placement, absorbing the shock of impact before springing back with quiet elasticity. A gentle autumn breeze carries the muffled, rhythmic thud of padded feet across the flats, blending with the subtle, steady motion of the line. The sub-adult locks into this hypnotic cadence, its muscles relaxing into the predictable sway of the pace. There is no wasted effort, no sudden burst of speed, only a measured, enduring rhythm that turned the vast distance into a quiet meditation on survival. Ahead, the unbroken crust of the hard-packed gravel plain gives way to a sprawling expanse of wind-rippled dunes, signaling a subtle shift in the terrain. The lead matriarch alters her bearing by a fraction of a degree, and the single file line flows into the new topography without breaking its steady cadence. This transition demands absolute precision from the trailing herd members. The subadult observes the subtle adjustment in front of it and responds instinctively. As the ground transitions from unyielding gravel to looser, shifting sand, the animal instinctively broadens the span of its wide, elastic footpads. These specialized soles act as natural snowshoes, distributing its considerable body weight evenly over the unstable surface to prevent sinking. With quiet grace, the subadult steps precisely into the deep, bowl-shaped impressions left in the sand by the adult just ahead. By utilizing these pre-compacted footprints, the younger camel bypasses the higher resistance of untrodden sand, sparing its joints and preserving precious energy. Each footfall lands with a muffled, sighing crunch blending into the chorus of soft impacts rippling down the line. When minor ridges and depressions cross their path, the spacing between herd members stretches and contracts like an accordion. The subadult lengthens its stride slightly as it crests a low mound, then gathers its limbs closer as it descends into the trough, never once losing the rhythm of its lateral gait. The landscape reconfigures beneath them, yet the marching order remains an unbroken thread winding across the silent basin, guided by ancient memory and the steady pulse of the migration trail. Along the moving trail, communication between travelers requires no sound. The single-file march maintains its quiet discipline through a silent language of posture and small adjustments. Ahead, the lead bull tucks his chin slightly closer to his chest, a minimal gesture that ripples backward through the line like a gentle wave. The subadult reads these micro-signals with instinctive ease. A slight flick of an ear tip from the mature female directly ahead indicates a brief slowing of the pace, perhaps to navigate a hidden drop in the terrain. In response, the subadult relaxes the muscles along its long neck, allowing its stride to shorten by mere inches. There are no sudden movements, no vocalizations, only a continuous, fluid negotiation of space and speed. Tail carriage offers another layer of subtle transmission. Held low and relaxed against the flank, it signals calm continuity to those trailing behind. When a sudden gust of wind carries an unfamiliar scent across the basin, the subadult's tail lifts fractionally, and its ears rotate forward. The camel immediately behind notes the shifted posture and instantly mirrors the alert stance without breaking the rhythm of its pacing gait. This minimalist communication system reduces cognitive fatigue across long hours of travel. By relying on peripheral vision and environmental awareness rather than active signaling, the herd preserves its focus. Each animal remains anchored in its own steady rhythm while functioning as part of a single, coordinated organism. The migration continues in a deep, meditative hush, guided by ancient instincts that flow effortlessly from one generation to the next. Ahead, the migration trail stretches endlessly toward the horizon, a pale ribbon winding across the timeless expanse of hard-packed earth. Above, the sky softens from amber to a cool, luminous blue as the sun climbs higher, casting long, peaceful shadows that ripple quietly over the sand. The transition from autumn to winter brings a crisp, clean clarity to the morning air, inviting the herd forward into the colder season ahead with quiet resolve. The steady, hypnotic rhythm of the walking herd creates a profound sense of tranquility. With each synchronized stride, the camels move as a singular, flowing entity, their footfalls blending into a soft, muffled crunch that echoes faintly against the quiet basin. The subadult matches this eternal cadence effortlessly, its limbs moving in the ancient, energy-conserving pacing gait that has carried its ancestors across these vast distances for millennia. Every step is an exercise in biological efficiency, minimizing lateral sway and preserving vital warmth and stamina. The gentle autumn breeze whispers past, carrying the fresh scent of approaching winter, yet the travelers remain unhurried and completely at ease. There is no destination to rush toward, only the continuous, meditative grace of the journey itself. Bound by invisible ties of instinct and shared endurance, the single-file line moves deeper into the open horizon. The subtle leather creak of shifting packs fades into the background hum of the wilderness. Slowly, the world settles into a deep, uninterrupted stillness, lulling the resting mind into a state of profound peace as the endless trail stretches out forever beneath the open sky. The golden hues of the autumn desert fade, yielding swiftly to a pale, steel-gray sky as a bitter front rolls across the open plains. With the shifting season, the relentless heat of the sands surrenders to a sharp, biting chill. Freezing winter winds sweep unhindered across the frosted ground, carrying the crisp scent of ice and turning the breath of the desert into soft, rising plumes of vapor. As late afternoon deepens, the temperature drops precipitously. The sparse, dry grasses of the dunes stiffen beneath a delicate, glittering crust of morning frost that has refused to melt all day. In this stark environment, the ecosystem undergoes a profound transformation. The landscape grows quiet, hushed by the descending cold. Amidst this frozen expanse, a solitary adult dromedary stands as a masterclass in seasonal adaptation. Over the preceding months, its physiology has prepared meticulously for this exact thermal shift. The sleek coat worn during the scorching summer has been replaced by a dense, shaggy undercoat paired with coarse, water-repellent outer guard hairs. This remarkable biological insulation is designed to trap layer upon layer of still air against the skin, acting as a thermal barrier that seals in core body heat while shielding the animal from the icy gusts. Around it, the ambient sounds of the winter evening begin to settle. A gentle wind whispers through the stiffened brush, accompanied by the faint, subtle crack of frost crystals forming on the soil. Somewhere in the distance, a desert owl calls out across the stillness, marking the arrival of the long, freezing night ahead with timeless, steady grace. This remarkable transformation of the animal's outer layer is a masterclass in mammalian anatomy. The winter coat of the adult dromedary is actually a dual-layered defense system, perfectly engineered by evolution to conquer extreme temperatures. Beneath the long, coarse outer guard hairs, which serve to shed wind and any unexpected winter moisture, lies a thick, remarkably dense, woolly undercoat. As autumn progressed, specialized follicles in the skin increased their output, producing millions of fine, crimped fibers that weave together into a nearly impenetrable mat. This microscopic architecture is designed to capture and hold still air. Trapped air is a remarkably poor conductor of heat, meaning that the camel creates its own personal microclimate right against its skin. The body heat generated by internal metabolism warms this trapped layer, while the dense outer fibers prevent the biting drafts from stealing away the warmth. Even the distribution of this fur is strategically varied across the robust frame. The neck, shoulders, and hump feature the most extravagant growth, forming shaggy, wind-deflecting capes that protect the areas most exposed to the sweeping gales. As the camel shifts its weight slightly against the cold air, the long fibers ripple like wheat in a gentle breeze, never allowing the insulating barrier to compress or lose its loft. Through this quiet, biological alchemy, the animal wears its own portable shelter, remaining comfortably warm within a landscape gripped by ice. Beneath this blanket of thick wool, an equally sophisticated system is quietly at work within the animal's core. Surviving the bitter desert winter requires more than just physical insulation. It demands precise metabolic regulation. As ambient temperatures plummet, the adult dromedary avoids the high-calorie trap of continuous shivering. Instead, its body engages a specialized suite of physiological responses to conserve energy while preserving core stability. The metabolic rate adjusts smoothly to match the cold. By lowering internal heat dissipation, The camel prevents vital thermal energy from escaping into the frozen air. Specialized countercurrent vascular networks in the legs allow blood to cool before it reaches the extremities, preventing excessive heat loss while keeping the tissues healthy and pliable. This means the vast, heavy frame can maintain a safe internal temperature without demanding a massive influx of fuel from a landscape where sustenance is scarce. Energy expenditure is kept to a gentle, steady hum. The liver and other visceral organs subtly alter their cellular respiration, generating warmth from within through non-shivering thermogenesis, particularly by utilizing stored fat reserves efficiently. Every internal adjustment is economical, measured, and unhurried. With measured, quiet grace, the great animal stands anchored against the deepening chill. The winds may carry the crisp bite of frost across the barren dunes, but within this remarkable biological engine, all is balanced and still. The body preserves its resources with quiet perfection, resting securely in the deep, undisturbed peace of the frozen evening. As twilight deepens and the ground hardens beneath a growing crust of white frost, the adult camel lifts a massive limb to resume its slow, deliberate journey. The terrain, once soft and yielding beneath the relentless summer sun, is now brittle and unyielding. Yet, the animal's anatomy is masterfully designed for this dramatic shift. Each foot descends with a soft, muffled thud onto the icy earth, guided by ancient instincts and specialized biomechanics. Beneath the long legs, the camel's famous broad foot pads prove remarkably versatile. Far from being suited only for shifting sands, these large circular cushions are filled with a resilient elastic digital cushion, a thick, fatty fibroelastic mass that absorbs the shock of hard, frozen surfaces. As the foot makes contact with the frosted ground, the central pad flattens out, spreading the animal's considerable weight evenly across the icy crust. This clever distribution prevents the heavy frame from breaking through brittle patches or sliding on slick, frozen mud. At the same time, the two-toed structure expands slightly under pressure, gripping the uneven terrain with natural stability. There is no slipping, no wasted effort, and no sudden panic as the footing changes. The wide leathery soles provide natural insulation against the cold ground beneath, protecting sensitive tissues from the sub-zero chill radiating upward from the earth. With every unhurried stride through the rustling dry grass, the camel demonstrates a quiet mastery over the changing seasons. The foot lifts smoothly, the toes closing together before swinging forward for the next measured placement, carrying the magnificent creature onward through the quiet, freezing evening. As daylight fades into long, indigo shadows, the adult dromedary pauses beside a cluster of dry, dormant desert bushes. The landscape is gripped by a profound stillness, broken only by a gentle wind that rustles the brittle, frost-covered grass. In this season of scarcity, nourishment requires patience. The camel extends its long, flexible neck toward a weathered shrub, its split upper lip parting to select only the most resilient vegetation. This slow browsing behavior is an exercise in metabolic conservation. Each movement is measured and deliberate, designed to acquire sustenance without expending excess energy. The animal's specialized dental pad and robust teeth easily grind through tough, woody stems that have lost all trace of summer moisture. Inside the massive frame, the digestive tract, teeming with specialized microflora, slowly breaks down the fibrous plant material, extracting every available calorie to fuel internal warmth through the coming night. There is no rush, no frantic searching. The camel stands like a statue carved from the earth itself, chewing methodically as the temperature drops another degree. Every bite of dormant foliage represents a quiet triumph over the winter barrenness. As the last amber rays of the sun slip below the horizon, the camel finishes its meal, turning its steady gaze toward the gathering herd in the deepening twilight. Across the pale expanse, Other silhouetted shapes begin to move through the dimming light. Drawn together by an ancient instinct, the members of the herd converge slowly upon the lee of a low, rolling dune. This natural windbreak offers a gentle reprieve from the biting air currents that still whisper across the frosted ground. There is a quiet, steady communication among them. Soft, low rumbles that vibrate gently in the chest, acknowledging one another's presence in the gathering dark. With unhurried grace, the adult camel lowers its heavy body to the earth. It folds its long limbs beneath its massive frame, settling its brisket firmly onto the chilled sand with a soft, settling sigh. The wide, padded feet tuck neatly inward, protected beneath the heavy woolen folds of the animal's winter coat. Here, in close proximity to its kin, the herd forms a loose, protective cluster. By resting near one another, they create a shared microclimate, slightly tempering the frigid ambient air that rolls down from the dark skies above. Overhead, the first stars pierce the indigo dome, glittering like scattered frost. The wind settles into a soft, murmuring breath against the dune's crest, while far out in the vast stillness, the muffled hoot of a desert owl drifts across the freezing plain. Wrapped in the impenetrable armor of its dense, insulating fleece and sustained by a finely tuned metabolism that burns fuel at a whisper, the dromedary rests in total peace. The desert night deepens, blanketing the earth in a profound, restorative quiet, ready to cradle the sleeping giants until the return of the sun. Across the vast, undulating expanse of the high desert, the amber glow of the setting sun surrenders to a profound, indigo hush. Winter has seized the landscape, transforming familiar, golden waves of sand into a surreal realm of frosted white dunes. As daylight fades, the temperature plummets rapidly, and a gentle wind sweeps across the crests, carrying the crisp, clean scent of frost and rustling dry grasses in the hollows below. Against this sweeping horizon of blue twilight stands a solitary adult Bactrian camel, a magnificent silhouette of endurance. Its towering form is draped in a dense, shaggy winter coat, a remarkable evolutionary shield of thick underwool and coarse outer guard hairs that has grown dense and heavy to combat the approaching sub-zero night. The chilly breeze ruffles this woolly mantle, yet the animal remains utterly undisturbed, perfectly adapted to the bitter climate. Around it, the desert falls into a deep, crystalline stillness. The only sounds are the faint, sliding whisper of shifting sand grains settling on the slopes, and the soft, distant hoot of an owl awakening in the gloom. The camel pauses, turning its large, dark eyes toward the darkening horizon as the first brilliant stars begin to puncture the violet sky. The herd lingers close by, moving with slow, deliberate grace as the chill deepens. Through specialized physiological mechanisms, including a fluctuating core body temperature that minimizes heat loss, these resilient creatures are primed to endure the freezing hours ahead. For now, the adult camel simply stands tall in the fading light, a quiet guardian of the frozen dunes, breathing in the cold air as the peaceful winter night gently envelops the earth. Leaving the exposed ridge behind, the adult camel begins a slow, deliberate descent into the undulating valley below. Every step is measured and unhurried, an instinctive pacing that ensures minimal energy expenditure as the thermometer continues its steep descent. The landscape here shifts from broadening, wind-scoured plains to a complex maze of high, sculpted dunes. By navigating toward the eastern lee of the largest crest, the animal seeks a crucial microclimate where the bite of the evening wind is substantially broken. In the wild, behavioral thermoregulation is just as vital as physiological adaptation. Selecting a proper windbreak can reduce convective heat loss by a significant margin, sparing precious metabolic reserves during the harshest hours of the night. The camel moves with a quiet, swaying gait, testing the subtle currents of air with its sensitive nostrils until it finds a pocket of relative calm. Here, Sheltered deep within the trough of the frosted dunes, the swirling breeze gentles to a mere whisper against the sand. Other members of the herd drift inward from the periphery, following the lead of the adult in a silent, coordinated social movement. They converge on this natural amphitheater of sand, instinctively positioning themselves to share mutual body heat. The surrounding high walls of the dune block the prevailing gusts, wrapping the resting area in a protective embrace. With the ideal shelter secured, the atmosphere grows even more serene, save for the soft rustle of dry grasses half buried in the frost. The adult pauses in the center of the hollow, perfectly positioned to weather the impending freeze in tranquil security. With the windbreak secured and the herd gathered in close proximity, the adult camel begins the intricate physical process of settling upon the frozen ground. Unlike other large mammals that might drop clumsily to the earth, the camel executes a series of deliberate, almost fluid movements designed to protect its massive frame. First, it folds its long, slender forelimbs, dropping gently to its knees, followed by the measured descent of its hind legs. This careful descent places the animal's full weight directly onto a series of specialized anatomical adaptations. Chief among these is the sternal callus, a massive, leathery pad of thick, fibrous connective tissue situated squarely on the chest. When the camel finally tucks its legs completely beneath its torso and settles its weight, this hardened pedestal acts as a crucial thermal barrier. It elevates the vital organs well above the freezing sand, preventing direct contact and halting the conductive transfer of body heat to the sub-zero earth below. Similar calloused pads protect the joints of the legs, the exact points of contact that bear the brunt of the animal's immense weight during rest. These tough, hairless shields are evolutionary masterpieces, developed to withstand both the blistering heat of summer sands and the biting frost of winter dunes without injury or discomfort. As the adult settles into the hollow, its body contours wrap around these structural anchors, locking the posture into place with remarkable stability. Surrounded by the gentle, collective warmth of the resting herd, the camel becomes a silent monument of biological efficiency, perfectly insulated against the gathering cold of the desert night. Around the newly settled adult, the rest of the herd draws closer, merging their massive forms into a single, cohesive unit. This social clustering is a vital behavioral adaptation against the plummeting winter temperatures. By huddling tightly together, the camels significantly reduce their individual surface area exposed to the biting wind, creating a microclimate of shared body warmth within the group. This living wall blocks the chilling drafts that sweep across the frozen dunes. Each animal radiates heat from its thick, woolly winter coat, warming the air immediately surrounding its neighbors. The dominant matriarchs and older bulls often take the windward positions, offering an extra layer of shelter to the younger herd members nestled safely at the center of the formation. Within this compact gathering, boundaries blur as flanks press gently against flanks. The gentle rise and fall of heavy breathing synchronizes into a soft, steady rhythm, filling the crisp night air with a low, ambient hum of communal survival. Low, gurgling vocalizations pass softly between family members, quiet rumbles of reassurance that reinforce social bonds and maintain the calm hierarchy of the herd. As more members settle into the expanding cluster, the collective thermal mass grows. The freezing perimeter wind is deflected and dissipated around the smooth, rounded contours of the huddling bodies. Safe within the embrace of the herd, the adult camel closes its long lashes, completely insulated not only by its own remarkable anatomy, but by the cooperative warmth and enduring strength of the group. As absolute stillness blankets the resting group, the night deepens and the temperature continues its inevitable downward slide. Yet, within the center of the huddle, the adult camel remains entirely cocooned in warmth, sustained by an invisible, internal furnace. Even in deep rest, the animal's digestive system works in a continuous, slow-motion rhythm, the camel quietly brings up a fresh bolus of fibrous desert scrub, chewing its cud with a slow, methodical motion that sounds like the gentle rustling of dry grasses in the breeze. This steady, rhythmic grinding helps break down tough winter forage, feeding a complex, multi-chambered stomach designed for ultimate nutritional efficiency. Within these specialized chambers, microbial fermentation takes place around the clock. Billions of microscopic organisms break down plant cellulose, and this continuous biochemical breakdown generates a significant amount of metabolic heat, acting as a biological radiator. This internal fermentation process warms the camel from the inside out, radiating a steady, gentle heat through the core of its massive body and straight out to its insulating woolly coat. This biological furnace requires no extra effort from the resting animal. It is a brilliant evolutionary adaptation for winter survival, turning the very act of digestion into a constant source of vital warmth against the freezing dark. The low, gurgling vocalizations of rumination echo softly through the clustered herd, a gentle, rhythmic soundtrack of life persisting against the sub-zero chill. Safe, well-fed, and warmed by both the cooperative shelter of its companions and the quiet fires of its own metabolism, the adult drifts further into peaceful, restorative slumber beneath the glittering canopy of stars. Above the silent dunes, the vast dome of the winter night expands into infinite clarity. Far from the atmospheric moisture of lower latitudes, the dry, sub-zero air of the high desert creates a pristine window into the cosmos. Brilliant constellations wheel slowly across the velvet blackness, tracing ancient, familiar paths through the star-studded expanse. Orion rises in the southern sky, its luminous belt hanging like a string of diamonds above the frozen wilderness. Down in the sheltered hollow, the desert world settles into a profound, restorative serenity. The shifting sand grains have long since frozen into place, locked in a crystalline crust by the deepening frost. The gentle wind softens to a mere whisper, brushing lightly over the thick, insulating wool of the resting herd without piercing its warmth. Surrounded by the comforting bulk of its companions, the adult camel drifts deeper into a state of quiet, unbroken rest. The steady, rhythmic sound of deep breathing echoes softly through the huddle, perfectly synchronized with the quiet pulse of the sleeping ecosystem. With every slow inhalation and exhale, the dampness of the frosty air is warmed before entering the lungs, a final, subtle testament to the animal's remarkable respiratory efficiency. This deep, shared stillness offers a profound promise of endurance through the coldest hours of the night. Here, beneath the eternal, silent watch of winter stars, life perseveres through the frost. Energy expenditure drops to its absolute minimum, conserving every precious calorie against the coming dawn. The herd rests as one unified, warm organism, held safely in the gentle embrace of the dark, waiting patiently for the first pale light of morning to touch the frozen dunes once more. A deep indigo stillness settles over the frozen desert basin, where brilliant winter constellations pierce the cloudless midnight sky. Overhead, the ancient pattern of Orion glitters with sharp, diamond-like precision, casting a pale, silvery hue across undulating dunes crusted with a thin, glittering layer of frost. A crisp breeze drifts over the landscape, carrying a low, sustained sigh as the howling winter wind expends its energy against the silent earth. Against this vast and freezing expanse, an adult camel rests motionless upon the chilled ground. Its massive frame is enveloped by a remarkably dense, shaggy winter coat, a thick blanket of woolly underfur and long guard hairs that traps warm air close to the skin, effectively repelling the biting chill of the midnight draft. This specialized pelage acts as a thermal shield, keeping the animal's core temperature stable while winter temperatures plummet well below freezing. The herd remains clustered together in the sheltered trough of the basin, their bodies touching to conserve collective ambient warmth against the biting air. From time to time, a low, Rumbling vocalization vibrates gently through the cold night, a soothing sound of quiet reassurance within the sleeping group. The ground beneath them shifts slightly, a subtle crunch of sand and frost accompanying the gentle settling of heavy limbs. In this profound nocturnal quiet, the camel breathes in the crisp, frigid air with slow, measured grace, perfectly attuned to the harsh demands of the seasonal cycle. Rising gently along the center of the resting animal's back, the single dorsal hump cuts a familiar silhouette against the starry horizon. Far from being a fluid-filled reservoir, a common misconception of desert lore, this prominent anatomical structure is an architectural marvel of adipose tissue metabolism. Within the secure confines of this muscular mound, dense reserves of triglycerides are packed tightly together, serving as a concentrated, high-yield battery of caloric energy for the lean months of winter. As external foraging yields almost nothing beneath the frozen crust of the earth, the adult camel's endocrine system orchestrates a quiet internal transformation. Specialized enzymes begin to systematically break down these stored lipids within the hump, mobilizing fatty acids into the bloodstream to fuel cellular respiration. This localized storage strategy is an evolutionary triumph. By confining fat exclusively to the dorsal hump rather than distributing it evenly across the entire frame, the camel avoids creating a layer of subcutaneous insulation that would trap unwanted body heat during daytime movement. Under the cold canopy of winter stars, the hump remains completely unloaded of heavy water weight, relying instead on pure, metabolically dense fuel. As these lipids are oxidized, hydrogen atoms combine with oxygen within the body to generate metabolic water, quietly sustaining the camel's internal hydration balance without the need to seek out frozen desert streams. The cellular machinery operates with exquisite biochemical efficiency, converting stored summer abundance into the steady warmth required to endure the long, freezing hours of the nocturnal winter landscape. Deep within the microscopic architecture of the camel's tissues, a profound biological stillness settles over the resting body. As the mercury plunges beneath the glittering winter constellations, the animal's basal metabolic rate drifts downward into a state of profound physiological conservation. This deliberate slowing of cellular respiration acts as a biological dimmer switch, drastically reducing the daily caloric demand required to sustain life through the harshest weeks of the year. By dialing back the frantic pace of energy consumption, the camel effectively shields itself from the threat of starvation, stretching every single gram of stored lipid across the endless expanse of the cold season. Simultaneously, an intricate system of internal thermoregulation takes command of the quiet night. The camel possesses the rare capacity to allow its core body temperature to fluctuate with the ambient chill, dropping by several degrees without triggering shivering. This controlled hypothermia narrows the thermal gradient between the animal's skin and the freezing desert air, minimizing heat loss and preserving precious internal energy that would otherwise be wasted on generating heat. Yet, specialized vascular pathways ensure that vital organs, particularly the brain and heart, remain bathed in a constant, safely regulated warmth. Fatty acids coursing through the bloodstream are oxidized at a measured, deliberate pace, fueling cellular maintenance without ever overworking the system. There is no frantic burning of reserves, only a slow, steady alchemy of survival. In this silent communion with the winter night, the camel demonstrates the absolute pinnacle of metabolic efficiency, mastering the art of enduring scarcity through supreme physiological calm. Beneath the ancient sweep of winter constellations, the resting camel shifts its weight slightly upon the frost-crusted sand, the movement accompanied by a faint, crisp crunch of frozen grains. A low, rumbling vocalization vibrates gently within its chest, dissolving into the quiet desert air just as a chilling breeze sweeps over the dunes. Inside the multi-chambered rumen, a quiet fermentation chamber warmed to body temperature, tough and dormant plant fibers gathered during the brief daylight hours undergo relentless microbial breakdown. With measured grace, the camel initiates the ancient hypnotic rhythm of rumination. A compact bolus of partially digested, fibrous vegetation travels upward from the forestomach, returning to the mouth through the esophagus in a smooth, effortless motion. The lower jaw begins a slow, methodical grinding movement, sweeping side to side with unhurried precision. Specialized teeth, designed to crush brittle desert brush and stubborn dry twigs that other herbivores ignore, work through the cud with steady, hypnotic regularity. This rhythmic chewing produces a soft, low grinding sound, a soothing acoustic cadence that echoes softly against the silent night. Each sweeping rotation of the jaw breaks the plant cell walls down even further, exposing stubborn cellulose to renewed microbial fermentation. Through this meticulous secondary chewing, the camel extracts every microscopic remnant of nourishment from the most unforgiving winter forage. Nothing is wasted in this landscape of extreme scarcity. The rich slurry of nutrients is swallowed once more, passing deeper into the specialized digestive tract where water is reclaimed with astonishing physiological thrift. In the stillness of the freezing night, the steady motion of the jaw continues, a peaceful, repetitive meditation on survival. While the frozen desert offers no liquid water to quench a thirst, the camel's internal physiology operates with a masterclass of biochemical conservation. High above, the glittering constellations wheel slowly across the velvet sky, while deep within the animal's flank, specialized organs labor in quiet perfection. When surface moisture is locked tightly into ice crystals and frost, the camel's kidneys perform an astonishing feat of biological filtration. They possess exceptionally long loops of Henle specialized microscopic tubules that reclaim nearly every drop of water before it can be lost. As metabolic processes continue through the night, nitrogenous waste products like urea are not simply discarded. Instead, the bloodstream routes these compounds back to the forestomach, where microbial populations repurpose the nitrogen to synthesize valuable proteins from meager winter forage. Nothing is squandered, and no precious fluid escapes through excretion. The resulting urine is concentrated into a thick, syrup-like consistency, while the blood plasma maintains its volume and fluidity despite the lack of drinking. Red blood cells possess unique oval shapes and extraordinary membrane flexibility, allowing circulation to remain steady even when blood viscosity rises slightly from moisture retention. This intricate orchestration of cellular chemistry ensures complete internal equilibrium without a single drop passing the lips. The camel rests in absolute peace, sustained by the ancient wisdom written into its very biology, perfectly adapted to endure the coldest, driest extremes of the winter night. As the long winter hours gently drift toward their end, a profound stillness settles over the sleeping herd. Clustered closely together against the biting chill, the adult camels share a collective warmth, their heavy bodies radiating heat into the freezing air. The howling winter wind softens to a quiet, whispering draft, brushing gently across dunes crusted with glittering frost. Within the resting herd, the adult camel breathes slowly and evenly. Each inhalation draws in the crisp, starlit air, while steady exhalations plume like soft mist into the dark. The internal furnace, fueled seamlessly by the slow-release lipids of the dorsal hump, maintains a deep and comforting core temperature. This localized fat storage, kept deliberately off the limbs and flanks, allows the body to vent excess heat during exertion by day, yet now preserves a gentle, steady aura of warmth through the frozen night. A low, rumbling vocalization vibrates softly from the chest, a deep and resonant note of contentment that ripples through the sand. It is a sound of absolute harmony with the wilderness, acknowledging neither fear nor urgency, only the profound patience required to outlast the barren season. Above, the magnificent constellations begin their slow descent toward the western horizon, yielding imperceptibly to the very first faint hints of pre-dawn stillness. The velvet sky softens into a deep, velvety indigo, heralding the approach of a new day. Yet for now, the camel remains motionless in its sanctuary of endurance, resting completely undisturbed in the timeless rhythm of the desert night. The desert world exists in a state of suspended breath. Before the first hint of daylight dares to stain the eastern horizon, the winter pre-dawn wraps the landscape in a blanket of pale, freezing mist. It is an hour of absolute, profound quiet, broken only by the faint, crystalline whisper of ice crystals settling across the dormant dunes. Out of this silent frost, a towering silhouette begins to stir, resting upon the chilled earth. An aging dromedary camel prepares for the new day with deliberate, unhurried grace. As it gathers its massive frame to rise, its thick, shaggy winter coat, a dense insulating shield grown specifically for the bitter months, shimmers with a fine dust of white frost. In this veteran of many seasons, the passage of years has brought a refined physiological economy. Its metabolism, slowed by advanced maturity, generates a steady, conservative warmth, preserving every calorie against the relentless chill. There are no wasted motions, no frantic surges of energy. Every shift of muscle and joint is governed by the accumulated wisdom of a lifetime navigating the extremes of the arid zone. Slowly, the great beast unfolds its long limbs, first rising onto its front knees with a soft sigh of expelled air. It pauses, letting a low, resonant rumble vibrate deep within its chest, a gentle internal hum that warms the air passing through its nasal passages. Then, with a fluid, rocking motion, it stands fully upright. A faint crunch of frozen gravel sounds beneath its broad, cushioned pads, which distribute its weight effortlessly over the hardened ground. Standing tall amidst the winter mist, the aging camel surveys the sleeping herd with calm, steady eyes. The biting wind whispers past, but the veteran remains entirely unburdened by the cold, an enduring monument of peaceful patience in the heart of the frozen desert. Decades of nomadic travel have left their subtle signatures upon the great frame, yet the animal's joints move with a remarkable engineered precision. Where younger, more impulsive herd members might shift restlessly against the cold, this veteran possesses an internal architecture honed by time. Cartilage and bone have adapted through a lifetime of biomechanical efficiency, distributing weight with such mathematical grace that years of arduous trekking across gravel and sand have left the limbs remarkably sound. Beneath the heavy, insulating thatch of the winter coat, a profound metabolic transformation sustains the aging body. The animal's basal metabolic rate has settled into a gentle, conservative rhythm. By slowing its physiological engine, the camel requires far less fuel to maintain a steadfast core body temperature than it did in its youth. This metabolic buffering is an exquisite evolutionary gift, turning the inevitable deceleration of age into a masterclass of energy conservation. Calories are hoarded like precious water, utilized with utmost frugality to fuel only the most essential life processes. Respiration follows the same tranquil cadence. Each breath is deep and measured, passing through complex, scroll-like nasal turbinates that harvest escaping moisture and warmth before the air is released into the freezing night. The exhaled vapor dissolves instantly into the pale mist, leaving behind a quiet sense of balance. There is no strain, no feverish demand for sustenance in this frozen expanse. There is only the quiet efficiency of a body that has learned the exact cost of survival and pays it with effortless economy. Leadership among dromedaries rarely demands dominance or noisy displays of authority. For the veteran camel, influence is exerted entirely through presence and the quiet calculus of positioning. As the herd stirs from the frosty earth, there are no aggressive shoves or urgent vocalizations. Instead, the older female simply shifts her weight forward, planting a wide, cushioned foot upon the gravel with deliberate care. Instinctively, the younger subadults and nervous yearlings pause their restless shifting. They look not to the horizon, but to the steady, familiar silhouette of the matriarch. Her calm demeanor acts as a physiological anchor for the entire family group. In the animal kingdom, social hierarchy is often maintained through energy expenditure, but true seniority in this harsh winter landscape is measured by stillness. By taking the lead without haste, she models the ultimate art of energy conservation for the next generation. The younger camels naturally align their bodies behind her, falling into single file along the path of least resistance. They observe the way her long limbs swing with pendulum-like economy, matching their own respiration to the rhythm of her slow, rhythmic stride. They learn, without instruction, that surviving the bitter cold requires rhythmic pacing and the refusal to waste precious calories on erratic movement. Positioned at the front of the procession, the veteran surveys the mist-shrouded dunes with a serene, unhurried focus. Her quiet positioning communicates absolute safety to the followers, lowering their collective heart rates as they prepare to navigate the frozen expanse together. A soft, pale mist drifts across the frozen basin, muting the ancient landscape in an ethereal silence. The low-hanging vapor clings to the hollows of the dunes, turning the desert into a world of blurred edges and ghostly gray tones. Through this hushed veil, the veteran camel moves methodically, her large body gliding forward with a ghost-like grace. Her broad, padded feet press firmly into the cold sand and gravel, distributing her weight with exquisite mechanical efficiency. There is no slip, no wasted motion, only the steady, low crunch of frozen earth beneath her tread, leaving behind a neat, reliable trail that anchors the scattered herd in the hazy expanse. In this damp, freezing air, her thick winter coat captures microscopic beads of moisture, giving her silhouette a soft, frosted halo. The mist acts as a natural dampener of sound, wrapping the procession in a profound acoustic cocoon where the only audible rhythms are the soft breathing of the animals and the faint rustle of ice crystals parting before her chest. She navigates the familiar basin not by sight alone, but by a deeply ingrained mental map forged over countless seasons. Every slight contour of the ground is known to her. By keeping a straight, unwavering line through the fog, she ensures that the following herd never expends energy on wandering or hesitation, turning the treacherous, mist-choked basin into a safe and predictable passage toward the day's first sparse foraging grounds. Pausing upon the crest of a low, undulating rise, the veteran camel halts the procession. She lifts her massive head high into the frigid air, letting her senses expand outward into the silent expanse. Her dark, almond-shaped eyes scan the pale, mist-wrapped horizon, while her sensitive upper lip, velvety and prehensile, twitches delicately. She is reading the invisible signatures of the wind, tasting the subtle currents for the scent of distant moisture, approaching weather fronts, or the faint, hidden aroma of dormant winter shrubs buried beneath the frozen crust. Decades of survival have honed this neurological architecture into something approaching intuition. Her brain instantly processes these environmental cues, cross-referencing atmospheric pressure and wind temperature with a lifetime of stored memory. She remembers every drought, every sudden flash flood, and every bitter winter freeze that has swept across these plains. This profound physiological and mental repository allows her to evaluate the landscape with absolute economy. There is no restless shifting, no hesitation. When she determines the safest, most resource-rich vector for the herd, she does so with the quiet certainty of an animal that has seen it all before. As she stands motionless against the pearlescent sky, her long eyelashes catch the morning's earliest, faintest silver light, shielding her eyes from the remaining gloom. She is a living monument to adaptation, a creature perfectly tuned to the rhythms of the earth, holding the vast, sleeping desert in the steady balance of her awareness. With the decision made, she resumes her forward momentum, leading the silent procession down the slope and into the valley below. Her footsteps remain a study in biological efficiency. Every stride is measured, utilizing the pendulum-like swing of her long legs to conserve energy. Inside her veins, a sophisticated network of countercurrent heat exchangers, the ret mirabile, continues to warm the blood flowing toward her brain, shielding her vital organs from the lingering chill of the winter dawn. Her aging metabolism, finely tuned over many years, generates steady, low-level warmth without excess exertion, proving that true endurance requires no wasted motion. As the pale light of morning slowly dilutes the darkness, turning the mist from slate gray to a soft, luminous pearl, the younger camels follow faithfully in her wake. They have matched their breathing to her unhurried cadence, enveloped in the quiet rhythm of the herd. She pauses for a brief moment beside a cluster of frosted saltbush, letting her lower jaw move in a gentle, side-to-side motion as she begins to forage. There is no urgency in her actions, only the quiet grace of a creature thoroughly reconciled with the passing seasons. Bathed in the gentle luminescence of the waking day, she stands as a timeless embodiment of resilience. Every breath rises as a soft, translucent plume into the cold air, dissolving slowly into the vast and peaceful desert sky, leaving behind an aura of profound and enduring serenity. The pale golden light of a winter dawn spreads slowly across the silent dunes, touching the crests with a soft, amber radiance. In this tranquil twilight of a long life, the elderly camel moves with utmost deliberation. Decades of traversing sun-baked gravel plains and shifting earth have left their mark, but today there is no urge to journey further. With deliberate grace, the great beast selects a sheltered hollow nestled deeply between two stable ridges of sand, a natural cradle that blocks the chill of the early breeze. Its joints, stiffened by senescence and the natural accumulation of a lifetime's wear, settle gently onto the cool, yielding ground. As the heavy frame lowers, energy conservation takes over completely, governed by a metabolic decline that gracefully replaces active foraging with profound stillness. The dense winter coat evolved to trap insulating air against both scorching heat and freezing nights, fluffs slightly as the first rays of the sun catch its weathered strands. The atmosphere is filled with a profound, unbroken quiet. The morning breeze carries the faint, dry scent of winter dust and distant salt pans, moving quietly over the landscape. A low, resonant wind hums softly through the valleys, accompanied by the minute, soothing slide of shifting sand grains settling into place. Here, in the heart of the timeless desert, the aging traveler rests its head upon the earth, surrendering to the deep, restorative peace of the morning. As the morning sun slowly warms the crisp desert air, the quiet light illuminates the rich tapestry of an extraordinary life. Every calloused pad and hidden scar tells a silent story of survival across countless migrations. This grand frame has withstood the harshest extremes of the natural world, from the scorching furnace of midsummer droughts, where internal body temperatures could safely rise to conserve precious water, to the howling, freezing blizzards of forgotten winters. The heavy winter coat, now frosted with silver around the muzzle and eyes, catches the golden rays. This remarkable pelage represents the ultimate triumph of mammalian adaptation, trapping insulating air to master thermal regulation in an unforgiving landscape. Decades ago, those first unsteady steps were taken upon shifting spring sands, guided by instinct and the collective memory of the nomadic herd. Through times of scarcity, specialized metabolic pathways allowed the body to draw upon stored reserves, fueling endurance when nourishment was scarce. Now, physical vitality gracefully yields to a profound, uninterrupted stillness. The years of navigating endless horizons, of leading family groups through blinding dust storms and toward distant, hidden oases, are distilled into this single, peaceful morning. The journey has come full circle. Surrounded by the timeless beauty of the desert, the enduring spirit rests deeply, harmonized with the eternal rhythm of the wind and the whispering earth. A short distance away, The family group continues its gentle morning routines with unhurried serenity. Younger adults and subadults move slowly across the low basin, foraging among sparse, frost-tipped salt bushes. Their curved lips select tough, saline vegetation with practiced ease, utilizing specialized dental pads and robust molars designed to process coarse, fibrous desert flora. As they browse, these companions occasionally lift their long-lashed eyes toward the sheltered hollow, casting soft, low-frequency rumbles across the sand. These resonant vocalizations carry easily in the crisp winter air, vibrating gently through the ground. It is an ancient form of communication, maintaining social cohesion and quiet awareness within the nomadic unit. There is no panic, no sudden disruption in the rhythm of the herd. Instead, an instinctual calm prevails, honoring the natural passage of time with profound acceptance. The younger members graze in a loose, protective semicircle, their steady presence acting as a living boundary against the vast expanse. Every slow step and soft rustle of dry brush weaves into the ambient soundscape of the awakening morning. Biologically, this communal proximity offers tangible benefits. Close huddling and shared spatial awareness reduce individual vigilance costs, allowing each animal to conserve vital metabolic energy. The body heat and calm demeanor of the surrounding relatives create a secure microenvironment, wrapping the elder in an invisible blanket of social warmth. The herd moves as a unified organism, breathing in unison with the low, resonant wind that sweeps across the crests of the dunes. Life continues its unbroken, cyclical flow, cradled by the timeless patience of the desert. Within the sheltered hollow, the aging camel's respiration shifts into a profoundly tranquil cadence. The metabolic engine that once powered countless leagues of nomadic wandering now idles in a state of supreme conservation. With each gentle inhalation, the chest rises imperceptibly, drawing in the crisp, mineral-scented air of the winter morning. The exhalation follows as a soft, rhythmic sigh, perfectly matching the whisper of the breeze sliding over the dune crests. Senescence brings a natural quietude to the physical form. The heart, having faithfully circulated life-sustaining blood through extremes of desert heat and freezing nocturnal gales, now beats with a slow, steady grace. Every pulse is a quiet echo of decades spent traversing the infinite sands, sustained by the memory of sweet spring grasses after rare rains, the crisp chill of autumn nights, and the vast, unobstructed horizons. Energy conservation is no longer an active task directed by will, but a physiological surrender to rest. The dense winter coat traps a final layer of warmth against the skin, while the thick subcutaneous fat reserves of the hump settle softly, no longer needed to fuel long-distance migrations across barren wastes. Cellular processes wind down with elegant simplicity, demanding nothing more from the surrounding world. There is a profound harmony in this slowing down. The boundaries between the animal's physical form and the surrounding earth seem to soften, blurring into the timeless quiet of the dunes, surrounded by the gentle rustle of distant foraging and the low hum of the wind. The elder rests in absolute peace, cradled by the stillness of the desert morning. As the morning progresses, the golden sunlight bathes the resting form in profound warmth, gradually erasing the boundaries between the animal and the earth. Fine grains of desert sand, carried by the subtle morning breeze, drift gently against the thick, insulating coat. They murmur softly as they settle into the natural folds of skin and heavy limbs, weaving the elder camel into the very fabric of the terrain. This silent accumulation of mineral dust represents a quiet ecological return. Within the grand nutrient cycling of the arid lands, every living form eventually yields its elements back to the soil from which they arose. The physical shell that once navigated vast distances now participates in the timeless geography of the dunes, offering its matter back to the resilient ecosystem. Thermoregulation ceases to be a dynamic physiological effort. Instead, the sun takes over, warming the dense winter fibers without requiring a single muscle to contract. The shifting sand builds a protective, natural berm around the lower body, sealing the camel into a seamless union with the landscape. There is no disturbance here, only the steady, unhurried passage of time. The shifting sand grains whisper a continuous, lulling song against the fur, while the low, resonant wind hums across the valley. The camel rests in total peace, completely sheltered by the timeless dunes that have been its lifelong companion, guide, and ultimate resting place. The low, resonant wind continues its slow, ancient journey across the valley, carrying with it the distant herd rustling of family members as they graze peacefully upon sparse, salt-tolerant shrubs. That quiet biological continuity sustains the herd, even as an individual life cycle completes its natural, unbroken circle. The energy that once fueled resilient winter migrations, metabolic endurance, and quiet leadership now flows outward, rejoining the vast, enduring desert ecosystem. Nature wastes nothing in these arid expanses. Through slow ecological nutrient cycling, every mineral and organic molecule returns to the earth, enriching the sparse soil and providing sustenance for hardy flora and microscopic soil communities. The physical form that once traversed thousands of miles of shifting terrain now rests entirely still, becoming a foundational anchor for the surrounding dunes. Under the gentle morning sun, the golden sands continue their majestic, imperceptible migration across the plains. They drift in slow, hypnotic waves, gradually covering the resting form with a blanket of fine, warm earth. The subtle morning breeze fades into a profound, soothing stillness, leaving behind only the soft breathing of the desert itself, a timeless rhythm of endless renewal. The story of survival, written in hoofprints across the wastes, dissolves into the greater tapestry of the wild. Here, in the heart of the eternal sands, there is no real ending, only a quiet transition into deep, unbroken peace beneath the open sky.